In the wake of my CEO wife's sudden bankruptcy, the world assumed I'd snatch the remaining cash and vanish. After all, I'm a pretty-faced gold digger with a singular obsession, money, squandering my wife's fortune daily just to sustain a lavish lifestyle. In reality, though, I'm determined to help her rebuild her empire from the ashes. Looking back, if I had just saved a fraction of my allowance as a kid, wouldn't I be bathing in financial freedom by now? But here's the kicker. My CEO wife's ruin was nothing but a calculated facade. When I first transmigrated into the world of this novel, the plot had already reached its tragic grand finale. That stunning female CEO was the villainess, crushed and discarded by the heroine. I still vividly recall the final passage written about her fate. The only thing Bai Ningbing had left was the husband lurking in that bedroom, surrounded by his hoard of luxury watches and designer threads. Deep down, however, Bai Ningbing was painfully aware that this man ignored her existence unless he was shaking her down for cash. She expected him to pack his treasures and desert her any second. In the end, she believed she'd be left with absolutely nothing. I massaged my throbbing temples, contemplating my bankrupt wife and letting out a heavy sigh. Truth is, Bai Ningbing has been incredibly kind to me since our wedding day. Bolting with the loot while she's hit rock bottom just feels wrong. At the very least, I should stick around until she's back on her feet, before I even think about making my exit. After a moment to steady my racing thoughts, I hauled myself up and began scouring the disaster zone of a room. It took 3 grueling hours to cram the chaos into a single corner. By the time I finished, the room was overflowing with luxury mountain. I counted over 100 high-end watches and 80-plus designer suits. In that moment, I desperately wished I could trade the fabric for more steel. Selling watches is a cakewalk compared to offloading used clothes, after all. I finally stirred awake at 2 in the afternoon. With my stomach screaming for food, I scavenged through the wallet on the table. As I suspected, the kitchen was a foreign territory I never dared to enter. We moved in just 2 days ago, and neither of us knows the first thing about cooking. The kitchen is a barren wasteland, so I'm on a solo mission for survival. Fortunately, this rental isn't huge, and the neighborhood is a gold mine of local eateries right downstairs. I wandered down and settled for a quick, nondescript bowl of noodles. Remembering the empty shelves I saw in the bathroom, I detoured to the market. Hauling a bag of essentials, I made sure to grab everything Bai Ningbing needed, including her personal necessities. Every color and style I picked was meticulously chosen based on her preferences buried in my memories. Once back, I threw myself into cleaning the rest of the apartment. Pushing open the door to Bai Ningbing's private quarters, I saw that aside from a cluttered desk and bookshelf, the room held nothing but a lonely bed and the barest essentials. I let out a helpless, heavy sigh. It must be pure agony for a woman raised in a palace to endure such a hollow life. Steeling myself, I looked around the room and began to clear away the dust. Minute by agonizing minute ticked by, until the entire apartment sparkled, and it was already 10 p.m. Feeling a wave of relief, I finished freshening up and spread a late-night feast on the coffee table, ready to dig in. Just as I tore open the packaging and prepared to take that first glorious bite, the distinct click of the front door echoed through the room. I froze mid-motion and glanced up, locking onto a pair of eyes as crystalline as autumn waters. The woman standing at the threshold stared at me, her face a mask of indifference. As she averted her eyes, her gaze happened to sweep across the pristine room, and a flicker of genuine shock danced within her pupils. Her focus snapped back to me. At that same moment, I took her in. She was a breathtakingly stunning woman. She absolutely lived up to every poetic adjective the author lavished upon her. Feeling the weight of Bai Ningbing's intense stare, I gripped my chopsticks like a lifeline, my nerves spiraling out of control. I mean, let's face it, I'm a total fraud. Could a sharp woman like Bai Ningbing really fail to notice her husband had changed? Her piercing gaze made me feel like every secret was laid bare. Did you hire a cleaning crew? Is there even enough cash left for that? Her tone was leveled, yet it carried an undeniable edge of suspicion. I instinctively shook my head. No, I did it all myself. You cleaned this? Every bit of it. Bai Ningbing stood there, eyeing me with an expression of pure disbelief. The air grew heavy as we locked eyes for a tense beat. Bai Ningbing was the first to break the contact. Do you have enough funds? Plenty. And what about you? I asked back out of sheer habit. The second the words left my mouth, a pang of regret hit me. That simple question made Bai Ningbing's head snap back in surprise. Then she spoke slowly. It's enough. Following that, an awkward silence swallowed us. Bai Ningbing's eyes drifted toward the humble meal on the table. Suddenly, an apology tumbled from her lips before I could even process it. I looked up, following the direction of her gaze. I frantically shook my head. "No, don't. You have zero to apologize for." She walked closer, sinking into the opposite sofa, hesitating before she finally spoke. "The liquidation of our assets is basically finalized. Everything in our names is gone. We're left with nothing, but we're debt-free. You don't have to fear collectors. I'm down to my last 30,000 yuan right now. Once the dust settles, I'll find a way to earn more. Your card should still have 60,000. I've covered 6 months of rent here. If you want a divorce, I'll give you another 20,000. You can crash here until you find a new place." The reality hit me hard. Bai Ningbing was being more than generous. Their entire net worth was only 90,000. If we split, she was willing to hand me 80,000 and the roof over my head. She clearly wouldn't touch my watches or clothes either, leaving her with 1 room and 10,000. Seeing my silence, she added, "From my future earnings. I'll set aside a monthly cut for you, at least 3,000, is that fair? Since my future is a giant question mark, that's the only promise I can make. If I ever manage to reclaim my throne, I'll make everything up to you." I immediately shook my head and turned her down. Bai Ningbing witnessed my adamant headshake and lapsed into silence. I realized my frantic reaction might have triggered a misunderstanding, and immediately blurted out, "No, wait, I don't want a divorce. And I certainly don't need you to hand over your last cent. Don't worry, I have enough to get by. I've accepted our new reality and will be more frugal while grinding for my own cash. I don't need to stress. A modest lifestyle actually costs very little per month." "You're not divorcing me, but just yesterday you screamed." The memory suddenly hit me. Yesterday, I was apparently such a jerk that I called Bai Ningbing pathetic and demanded a split. My face flushed with embarrassment. I was wasted then. I didn't mean a word of it. I've had a change of heart. I can't desert you now. We're in this together, and I'll shoulder our future from here on out. Stop worrying about me. I can hold my own, and maybe even back you up." As I spoke, Bai Ningbing's gaze grew even more bewildered, yet she remained tight-lipped. "If you've truly changed your mind, then forget it. Just inform me when you're ready to leave." Bai Ningbing stood up and retreated to the bathroom to freshen up. I awkwardly hung my head and went back to picking at my food. I noticed that once Bai Ningbing stepped inside the bathroom, her footsteps halted for a long beat. She likely noticed the drastic transformation after my cleaning spree. Then the steady hum of the shower began. By the time I finished my meal, Bai Ningbing had finished her routine and stepped back out. The awkward, dramatic confrontation I'd imagined never happened. "Thank you. You should probably get some sleep as well." I scratched my head, feeling like I was wandering through a dream. I centered myself once more and headed off to handle my own business. Afterward, I retreated to my room and fired up my laptop. I set up a storefront on a popular second-hand marketplace to flip my luxury gear. With that done, I shut down the machine and drifted off to sleep. The following morning, my internal clock woke me up at 6:30 sharp. I began prepping the fresh ingredients I'd hauled in yesterday. While the porridge simmered, I slipped downstairs to snag some fresh steamed buns and golden fried dough. The moment I walked back in, Bai Ningbing's door creaked open as she emerged. She caught the sound of the front door. Gazing up and seeing the breakfast spread in my hands, she instinctively rubbed her eyes. She clearly thought she was hallucinating. "Morning." Snagged some breakfast and whipped up a pot of porridge, too. "Go ahead and get ready while it's hot." With that, I ducked back into the kitchen to monitor the stove, completely bypassing the look of pure shock on Bai Ningbing's face. Since we both used to be night owls, I was worried about our health, so I brewed a special red date and red bean porridge. It was perfectly thickened. I ladled out 2 bowls and plated the buns and dough sticks. I even peeled a few eggs and set out some savory side dishes. When Bai Ningbing finally stepped out of the bathroom, she was greeted by a dining table that looked like a 5-star morning feast. The scene was undeniably cozy, but Bai Ningbing felt nothing but suspicion. She knew her husband's track record. In 3 years of marriage, I hadn't so much as touched a sponge. My only skill was burning through her money. The background check she did before the wedding never mentioned I was a chef. A wild thought flashed through her mind. Had he been playing the fool this entire time? We used to have a full staff, so I never had to lift a finger. But now it's just the 2 of us, and we're flat broke. We can't survive on a takeout forever. My cooking isn't gourmet, but it's edible. If you're okay with it, let's eat at home from now on. So when Grandpa asked if you had any culinary skills, you actually lied to his face? After Bai Ningbing dropped that bomb, she took a cautious spoonful of the porridge. I froze for a second, then chuckled nervously, saying, "My cooking can't touch a professional chef's." I figured Grandpa only ate the finest delicacies, so I didn't want to look like a clown. That's a fair enough excuse. Bai Ningbing nodded slowly. And honestly, the taste is actually quite good. I observed that her table manners remained flawlessly elegant, realizing instantly that for a woman born into high society, choking down street food like this must be a crushing blow to her pride. Once the meal ended, Bai Ningbing instinctively reached to help clear the table. I quickly intervened. "Rest easy, I've got this. I'll handle the dishes. You focus on your business. With the asset liquidation pending, you'll likely be out late. Don't give me a second thought. Just ring me if you need anything." The moment Bai Ningbing stepped out, a wave of total relief finally washed over me. I reflected on how, even though this woman had plummeted to rock bottom, that regal high-born aura of hers was impossible to extinguish. That invisible, suffocating pressure she radiated was becoming more stifling by the second. If I hadn't been hardened by the struggles of my past life, I honestly might have cracked under her gaze. I have a mountain of tasks to tackle today as well. Beyond just stocking up on household essentials, I need to conduct a professional photo shoot for those luxury watches and designer clothes to list them on the secondary market immediately. I estimate that with such a massive collection, liquidating everything should net me well over 1,000,000 yuan. When the time comes, whatever venture Bai Ningbing chooses, she'll already have 70% of her startup capital secured. Furthermore, I need to scout the digital landscape of this world and weigh the odds of returning to my old grind. In my previous life, I was a seasoned web novel author. My college degree was actually in interior design. After graduation, I didn't want to turn that into a full-time corporate slog, so I stuck to writing while taking on freelance design gigs for extra bread. Life was always pretty comfortable. Once the last dish was dried, I grabbed my shopping list and hit the streets. I've never been one for window shopping, so I made a beeline home the moment I had the supplies. After getting organized, I started snapping shots of the watches and apparel. Grinding away until sunset left me completely drained. I had only just managed to finish cataloging the watch collection. I wolfed down a few leftover morning buns and retreated straight to my room to dive into the local web novels. My body couldn't take any more manual labor today. It was time for some mental gymnastics. 2 hours later, I clapped my hands in triumph and downed a cold cup of desk coffee in one go. I realized the web novel scene here is remarkably primitive compared to my old world. The tropes I mastered before could be revamped into masterpieces here. It's an absolute goldmine. Right then, the faint click of the front door echoed from the hallway. I hesitated for a heartbeat, then vaulted off the bed and dashed out in my slippers. I couldn't help it. This morning I realized we'd spent the whole night with the door unlocked. Bai Ningbing is clearly used to the security of a luxury villa. She completely forgot that a place like this requires a manual deadbolt to keep the creeps out. She froze when she saw me coming out to hang up the laundry. "You're home?" I noticed the door was wide open all night. Back at the manor, you had a security detail for that. We're on our own now. You have to throw the deadbolt at night, otherwise a thief could walk right in. I'm aware. We were essentially acting like two strangers sharing a roof. I felt forced to take the lead just to break the ice. Have you eaten yet? I have. I picked up more of the basics today. If you're missing anything, just give me the word. I'll fetch it for you later. I'm fine for now. And just like that, the conversation died. What else was there to say? I paused for 3 seconds. I decided it was best to just exit the stage. Well, if you're good, I'm heading back to my room. Shout if you need me. Bai Ningbing only began inspecting the apartment after my door clicked shut. She took a slow, deliberate walk through the kitchen and the bathroom. The house was filled with subtle new additions today. Compared to the sterile vibe from before, it finally felt like a home. Does this man seriously intend to build a life here? It's as if he's evolved into a completely different person overnight. At that moment, I was blissfully unaware of the suspicion brewing in Bai Ningbing's mind. I tuned out the world and focused solely on optimizing the computer. My predecessor was apparently quite the scholar in high school, landing a spot at a prestigious university, but once he hit college, he basically switched to autopilot and coasted through. His technical skills were even more pathetic than his work ethic. This laptop was lagging so hard it was practically a paperweight. I had to perform a deep scrub of the entire system, while simultaneously playing detective to see what the original owner had been hiding. After digging through the digital junk, I stumbled upon a hidden photo archive. It was a maze of subfolders, mostly narcissistic selfies of the former guy, with a handful of family shots buried within. However, the final folder was labeled with a suspicious string of gibberish. I clicked it out of curiosity, and damn, it was packed with shots of him and some woman. She had that classic high-maintenance socialite aesthetic. She was undeniably attractive, but honestly, she wasn't exactly my vibe. Her smile felt fragile and clingy, but the sheer intimacy in those photos sent a jolt through my soul. I frantically checked the timestamps, and thank God, they were all pre-marriage. Scared senseless, I salvaged a few platonic shots and nuked the rest from existence. It finally clicked that this woman was the previous owner's high-profile ex-girlfriend, a spoiled heiress from his university days. Though they'd been over for ages, there was zero logic in hoarding these relics. Luckily, Bai Ningbing hadn't stumbled upon them. If she had, it would have been a ticking time bomb for our fragile living situation. By the time I finished purging the laptop, the clock was pushing 11 p.m. I let out a massive yawn, prepped the bed, and surrendered to sleep. The next morning, I managed to drag myself out of bed even earlier than the day before. Instead of settling for takeout, I decided to whip up a gourmet plate of fried rice myself, complete with 2 savory side dishes. By the time Ningbing stirred, the kitchen was smelling like a 5-star bistro. She could dive right in the second she finished her morning routine. Bai Ningbing stared at the spread, visibly stunned. "You actually know your way around fried rice?" Or, "I do. While my repertoire of complex delicacies is a bit limited, I can handle home-style comfort food no problem. It's nothing fancy, just decent fuel, so don't expect a Michelin star." Bai Ningbing took a tentative bite. "Not bad at all. Actually, it's delicious. I'm glad it hits the spot. I'll be swinging back here for lunch today." I blinked in surprise before quickly catching my breath. "What are you craving?" "Surprise me with whatever you're making. Just make sure there's plenty of white rice." "Deal. I'll whip up some sweet and sour ribs, tomato-glazed eggs, and a light egg drop soup. Think that'll fill you up?" "I believe so." "Then go ahead and tackle the world with peace of mind." Once the meal was over, Bai Ningbing grabbed her designer coat and vanished out the door. As usual, I was the one left on dish duty. As she exited the residential complex, Bai Ningbing slipped into a sleek car waiting at the entrance. The driver was her ex-assistant, Gu Qinghan, a childhood friend hand-picked by her grandfather. The moment Ningbing sat down, Qinghan held out a premium paper bag. "Ningbing, I grabbed your favorite breakfast from Jieji." "No thanks. I've already had a plate of Gu Xiaoyu's fried rice." Gu Qinghan's hand froze mid-air as her jaw nearly hit the floor. "Say what? Since when does that guy even know how to boil water?" "Honestly, it's news to me too. Yesterday he made porridge and I figured it was a fluke. When he claimed he could cook, I thought he was just capping, but then he served that rice. I even told him I'd be back for lunch, and he promised a full stir-fry spread." Hearing about my bizarre personality shift, Gu Qinghan's brow furrowed. "He's definitely plotting something, right? In the past, you two were like oil and water, and he was completely useless. Wait, didn't he throw a fit for a divorce? I already prepped the paperwork, so why the sudden radio silence?" Bai Ningbing gazed out the window, a cryptic, thoughtful smirk playing on her lips. "He said the divorce is off the table, claimed he's accepted our new reality, wants to build a life, and even plans to grind for cash so I don't carry all the weight." Bai Ningbing leaned back against the leather seat and let out a mysterious chuckle. "Could it be that he couldn't stand to see you suffer, so he stepped up to share the burden? If that's the case, maybe he's not a total loss. He was a ghost in college, spent 2 years of marriage just burning through your cash, and literally just demanded a divorce the other day. What's your take? They say a person's true colors only emerge when the ship starts sinking. Maybe his conscience finally kicked in. You never truly know a man's heart until his back is against the wall. Lately, we've watched so many people stab us in the back. Maybe Xiaoyu is just the rare type who actually shines when things get ugly. Perhaps. Let's move. Regardless, he's not making trouble for once, so let's just play it cool and watch how this unfolds." Meanwhile, I've been grinding all morning cataloging these clothes. Over 80 designer sets. There's no way I'm wearing all this. Keeping about 10 outfits to save face and maintain the aesthetic is more than enough for now. Flipping the rest will actually give me enough capital to buy some low-key everyday gear. It took over 2 agonizing hours just to get through half the wardrobe. I glanced at the clock on the living room wall. 10 o'clock already. Realizing I had to make a grocery run, I scrambled to pack the clothes away. I threw on a light jacket and bolted out the door. Exiting the supermarket, I was hauling 2 massive bags of supplies back toward the apartment complex. Just as I stepped off the curb, a familiar voice called out my name. I snapped my head around. Standing there was an exceptionally gorgeous woman. She was dressed in absolute luxury from head to toe. Looking closer. Wait, isn't this the mystery girl from those photos last night? The moment she saw me turn, she practically sprinted over. Xiao Yu, how on earth did you end up in such a pathetic state? I looked down at my plain, uninspired clothes, then back at the cheap plastic grocery bags weighing down my hands. I was genuinely baffled. Is there a problem? What are you even doing here? The woman put on a mask of deep affection. Dump Bai Ningbing and come back to me. I can give you the life you deserve. It kills me to see you struggling like this. Come home, stay by my side, and I'll make sure you're living the high life again. If I didn't have the original owner's memories regarding this woman, I might have actually fallen for that devoted look in her eyes. Liu Ruyan, the second heiress of the Liu group, and the original owner's toxic ex-girlfriend. Back when she was supposedly with the original owner, she soaked up every bit of passion and devotion he offered her, while simultaneously mocking him for being a gold digger, even though she was loaded herself. But the kicker, she never spent a single red cent on the guy. During their entire relationship, it was always the original owner picking up the tab. To her, he was just a toy she could summon on a whim and discard when bored. She was absolutely intoxicated by her own superiority. It wasn't until Bai Ningbing entered the picture that she suddenly played the love-struck card, trying to manipulate him into rejecting the marriage. The original owner was completely sincere back then. He went hungry and wore rags, scrimping every penny just to spoil her rotten. But this woman only ever saw him as a plaything for her amusement. Luckily, the original owner had a shred of logic left and didn't fall entirely into her toxic love trap. Back in those days, he actually came incredibly close to turning Bai Ningbing down. Fortunately, by some stroke of absolute luck, he caught a glimpse of Bai Ningbing's true nature. Only then did he finally give up hope on his first love. It was that betrayal that convinced him only money was reliable, transforming him into the reckless spender he became. You could say that for the tragedy of the original owner's life, this woman is responsible for at least half the damage. And now this snake has tracked me down. It's definitely not out of love. I have no clue what she's scheming this time. But one thing's for sure, it's nothing good. Previously, Bai Ningbing was someone she could only watch with envy and grudging respect. Now that Bai Ningbing's empire has come crashing down, if I were to be easily lured away by some other woman, it would undoubtedly be the final crushing blow to her. I suspect this snake actually wants to target Bai Ningbing while she's vulnerable. I gave a firm shake of my head. I'm not going anywhere with you. Crawl back to whatever hole you came from. But why? Bai Ningbing is a total lost cause now. She'll only drag you into the mud with her. What could you possibly still want from her? Being a couple means riding the highs and surviving the lows. I'm her husband, so my place is naturally by her side. No matter how far she falls, I won't just desert her. She hasn't just hit a temporary snag. Even if she were totally broken, I'd be the one to pick up the pieces. This isn't about the struggle or the cash, as long as she's still my wife. I refuse to abandon her, especially when she's at her breaking point. What kind of delusional garbage is that? If I recall correctly, you two barely even spoke, right? She just tossed you money to keep you quiet while you bought toys. There's zero love there. Why suffer for a ghost? Liu Ruyan stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Who told you she wasn't good to me? Back when she was flush with cash, she provided for me generously every single month. Even though her schedule was too packed to spend time with me, she gave me the freedom to live without limits. That money might have been a drop in the bucket to her. But wealth doesn't just fall from the sky. Her generosity was an act of pure kindness. She owed me nothing. Since she supported me, I owe her my loyalty. Even now, facing ruin and divorce, she's letting me keep the roof over my head and offering me the lion's share of what's left. In my book, she's been more than honorable. And you consider that being good? If that doesn't qualify as being good, then what does? We didn't start with a fairy tale romance, so showing this much character in the face of disaster is incredible. You claim she's the problem. Are you implying you're the better option? What's wrong with me? If you choose me, I'll treat you like a king. Not a chance. I cut Liu Ruyan off before she could spin another lie. Let's talk about college, back when I was broke. You looked down your nose at me, convinced I was just some parasite clinging to a rich girl. In 2 years, you never spent a single cent on us. Even the gifts you gave me were just trashy buy one get one promos. Meanwhile, I slaved away at part-time jobs just to fund your lifestyle, only for you to toss me aside like garbage. You call that treating me well? What kind of lies are you spewing? What do you take me for? Did Bai Ningbing feed you some sob story? Just to turn you against me? Liu Ruyan's expression turned venomous. You really overrate your importance. A woman like Bai Ningbing wouldn't waste a breath mentioning you to me. To her, you're invisible. You're the one constantly stalking her shadow, desperate for a shred of validation, like they say. You see the world through your own twisted lens. Just leave. I'd rather not get any nastier than this. Liu Ruyan's eyes flashed with pure malice. She crowded into my space, putting on a pathetic, frail act. Xiaoyu, Bai Ningbing has clearly brainwashed you. How could you think such things? You used to adore me. That woman is bankrupt now. So she's probably leeching on to you because she's got nowhere else to go, right? Don't be a fool. Back off, don't take another step closer. Simply put, abandoning your partner the moment they hit rock bottom is something a subhuman would do. I'm not leaving her when she needs me most. So kill that idea right now. If I ever do walk away, it'll only be when she's standing tall on her own 2 feet again. Liu Ruyan opened her mouth to retort, but was drowned out by the sound of sarcastic, rhythmic clapping. Bravo, well-spoken, young man. Now that is what I call real integrity. Exactly. If more people had that kind of spine these days, the divorce courts would be empty. Your wife hit the jackpot when she married a man like you. Only then did I realize a small crowd had gathered nearby. It was a pack of neighborhood elders, clearly heading home from their early morning workout. The group of seniors marched over to us. The old man in the lead gave Liu Ruyan a long, judgmental look over. He clicked his tongue and shook his head. Listen here, little girl, this boy is doing right by his wife. It's shameful for someone like you to try and wreck a happy home. Put yourself in those shoes. If you were the one married, and some girl was trying to dismantle your life every single day, how would you handle that? Do not do to others what you wouldn't want done to yourself. You're saying because his wife lost her fortune, he should just dump her and follow you? Then can you promise me that you won't wake up one day and find yourself penniless too? The elders seemed to have caught a second wind, taking turns tearing into Liu Ruyan's character. Without a second to defend herself, she was instantly branded a moral degenerate, a woman with such warped values that she was deemed beyond redemption. I swiftly made way for the elders, lurking behind the crowd while shotting a smirk her way. This girl needs a serious reality check. You elders should teach her some manners. I've got dinner to cook, so I'll head out first. Let's catch up later if our paths cross. No problem, go on. Just leave this troublemaker to us. Not far away, Bai Ningbing, who had witnessed the entire drama, and Gu Qinghan sat frozen in the car, watching with bated breath. The moment they saw Liu Ruyan offer a groveling apology before being released by the mob, Gu Qinghan finally spoke up, her voice laced with disbelief. Bing Bing, that was really Xiaoyu just now, wasn't it? He's like a completely different person. He's actually a stand-up guy. Before, we only knew him as a reckless spender, but now he's basically broke. Yet he refuses to desert you, choosing to grind through the hardship just to stay by your side. And it's not even out of some blind obsession, but a matter of pure honor. It's exactly what those seniors were saying. His moral compass is surprisingly rock solid. At that moment, Bai Ningbing felt her long-held perception of me, shifting into a state of total confusion. After bidding farewell to Gu Qinghan, Bai Ningbing headed straight back to the apartment. As she swung the door open, she caught me clutching a laptop, perched on the rug before the living room sofa, my fingers dancing across the keys. The entire home was saturated with the mouth-watering scent of slow-cooked meat. Oh, you're back? Bai Ningbing set the bag of fresh fruit down by the coffee table. Driven by curiosity, she leaned in to sneak a closer look at my screen, realizing with a start that I was actually deep into writing a story. I think I've forgotten most of my college major, but I still have some of that old knowledge. Plus, I've always been a novel junkie, so I've got a pretty good feel for the market. I'm planning to take a shot at writing web novels. You don't mind, right? I asked, my typing speed never faltering. Bai Ningbing felt that this path actually suited my current situation perfectly. After all, she wasn't exactly expecting me to bring home a massive paycheck. I'm not sure if it'll take off, but as long as it makes you happy. I knew this former heiress wouldn't take a side hustle like this seriously, and she likely didn't even understand how the industry worked. I decided to pivot the conversation. The ribs have been simmering. It'll be another hour before we can eat. Go ahead and finish your work. Bai Ningbing gave a slight nod, freshened up, swapped into comfortable clothes, and vanished into her room. An hour later, I gave her door a sharp knock to summon her for dinner. 2 steaming bowls of rice sat waiting on the dining table. The spread was impressively vibrant, with rich reds and fresh greens looking incredibly appetizing. I'd even added a garnish. Anyone could tell this meal was prepared with meticulous care. This is actually my first time attempting sweet and sour ribs. Not sure if I nailed it, so give them a taste. If they're a disaster, I'll go whip up some smashed cucumber salad instead. Ever since my parents passed away during my college years, I had navigated life alone. Under their influence, my standards for quality of life weren't over the top, but they certainly weren't mediocre either. The house was always kept in pristine order, and I'd cook for myself whenever time allowed. My existence had always been highly disciplined, so basic survival skills were a breeze. My humble words just now were merely a polite gesture. I wouldn't go as far as calling myself a master chef, but I definitely have the art of home cooking down to a science. Back when my friends would gather, I was always the undisputed head of the kitchen, and I've received more than my fair share of praise. Bai Ningbing picked up a piece and took a tentative bite. She nodded approvingly. Impressive, it's actually delicious. Glad to hear it, now dig in. Life's been a total train wreck lately. You haven't been eating or sleeping right. You've been through the ringer. I poured a glass of freshly prepped lemon tea and slid it across the table toward her. This is lemon tea with a dash of honey, packed with vitamin C. Drink as much as you can manage. Don't worry about this tartness. Bai Ningbing scrutinized me with narrowed eyes, sensing that the man sitting across from her had transformed into an entirely different person. He didn't align with the background checks, or their 2 years of hollow marriage at all. But then again, she had never truly bothered to look at him. She couldn't claim her past intel was foolproof, so she could only bury the growing suspicion in her heart. You've been working hard. Don't mention it. I'm sheltered here while you're out there on the front lines facing the storm. You're definitely the one carrying the weight. Eat up. I flashed a smile. In truth, just connecting the dots, the reality was clear. Back when Old Man Bai was still around, Bai Ningbing was untouchable. Who would have dared to cross the Bai family? And Bai Ningbing had been a prodigy since day one. Countless peers grew up in her shadow, constantly compared to her by their parents, riddled with inferiority. Now that Old Man Bai has passed, those distant relatives are only looking for a chance to tear the Bai family limb from limb. They're praying for her downfall. Not a single one of them would ever extend a helping hand. They're more than willing to kick her while she's at rock bottom, just to see the person they once looked up to get trampled into the dirt beneath their feet. Honestly, when I read the novel before I transmigrated, I never quite grasped why Bai Ningbing was so stubborn about refusing help from her closest friends. Clearly, if she had just swallowed her pride and accepted their aid, she wouldn't have crashed this hard. Unfortunately, our current relationship is pretty strained, so I'm hesitant to pry. Given her upbringing as a high society heiress, she likely has her own cryptic reasons. I'm not sure how Bai Ningbing felt about the spread, but I was personally pretty satisfied with the outcome. I'm guessing she didn't hate my cooking though, right? Since she actually went for seconds. I hauled the dishes to the kitchen. Don't you dare touch those. I'll scrub them after my power nap. I dropped the plates into the kitchen sink, sliced up some fresh fruit, set it on the coffee table, and retreated back to the sanctuary of my keyboard. Since I was rewriting stories I had already authored once before, my pace was naturally lightning fast. Plus, my typing speed was maxed out years ago. By that morning, I had already hammered out a 2,000-word outline. At this breakneck speed, I'll likely hit 20,000 words by tomorrow and can finally submit it. Bai Ningbing and I are in a tight spot right now. We desperately need a cash flow. I'm no business mogul, so I can only hustle for extra bread to lighten the load for her. Bai Ningbing retreated back into her room. The door clicked shut, leaving me wondering what she's plotting in there. Around 1:30 in the afternoon, I forced myself to kill the laptop and succumb to a nap. The living room was instantly swallowed by a heavy silence. Inside her sanctuary, Bai Ningbing hesitated for a long beat, before finally firing off a text to Ching Han. Fine, I'll keep an eye on his behavior for now. Call off the investigation. Perhaps I'm just overthinking things. Let's wait and see. In under an hour, my alarm blared. I dragged myself out of bed, feeling a wave of grogginess wash over me. I stumbled toward the bathroom, finding the door unlocked. Muttering to myself, I reached out, gripped the handle, and swung it open. Just as I was about to cross the threshold, I looked up and locked eyes with the last person I expected. "Sorry, I'm still half asleep and totally forgot I wasn't alone." Panicked and blushing, I bolted back to my room and slammed the door shut. I wanted to slap myself. It was beyond humiliating. It took an eternity for my racing heart to settle down. When I finally gathered the nerve to step back out, Bai Ningbing was just emerging from the bathroom. Our gazes met again across the 4-meter gap. "It's fine. Drop the embarrassment. This apartment is tiny. We're going to be in each other's space constantly, so we'd better get used to it." Right, exactly. Getting used to it is the goal. Not heading out today? The morning's grind is over, so I'm staying in this afternoon. Saying that, Bai Ningbing seemed to recall something. "Since I'll be around for the next few days, do you need a hand with any of the chores?" I felt a sudden spike of nerves. "Why, is something the matter?" "Look, I was raised in the Bai family, but I'm not some helpless doll without life skills. We're sharing this cramped space now, so if you need help, just say it instead of being so stiff." "All right, I hear you." I looked at Bai Ningbing's dead serious expression and actually found the sight surprisingly adorable. Win or lose, this woman's beauty was absolutely flawless. She truly was the masterpiece of the author's pen. Even a cold, expressionless look was breathtaking. I thought to myself, facing a woman like this without losing my composure is practically a superpower. Bai Ningbing gave me a lingering, meaningful look before retreating to her room. Suddenly, a realization hit me. I scrambled to her door. "Hey, what's the plan for dinner tonight?" "Whatever you want. I'm not high maintenance." "Got it." This fallen heiress was much easier to please than I anticipated. I returned to my post. I went back to hammering away at the keyboard on the coffee table. After wrapping up another intense page, I suddenly remembered the listings I'd posted on the secondhand marketplace. I quickly fired up the app to check the status. Jackpot! I had already offloaded 12 watches and 2 designer outfits. I didn't fully grasp the true market value of these luxury flexes, so when I listed them earlier, I just scanned the online prices and slashed them by 20%. Then I hit the post button. Many of these items were still brand new with tags, but I worried Bai Ningbing was desperate for cash, so I didn't dare set the prices too high. Initially, I feared no one would gamble on such expensive pieces, but surprisingly, they were selling like hotcakes. I carefully logged all the shipping addresses. After securing the file, I rushed into my room to round up the sold watches and clothes. Since I had quite the haul to ship out, I decided to schedule a home pickup for the logistics. A half hour later, every last item was securely boxed and taped. The courier arrived, and Bai Ningbing, likely drawn by the commotion, swung her door open. "What exactly are you doing?" I realized my collection of clothes and watches was getting out of hand. I'm not exactly living the high life or going out much these days, so they were honestly just cluttering up our limited space. I curated a few pieces and listed them for sale. These are the specific units that sold today, so I need to get them dispatched to the buyers immediately. You don't have to resort to that. We haven't plummeted so far that you need to liquidate your belongings yet. Honestly, it's mostly a space issue. Besides, these aren't even the latest season's models. Hoarding them is pointless, so I might as well flip them for cold, hard cash. That way, if a new release catches my eye later, I can just snag it. Framing it like that should preserve the young Mrs. Pride, shouldn't it? I felt like I was being remarkably tactful, but for some reason, one of my words must have struck a chord, because Bai Ningbing's hand trembled slightly against mine before she released her grip. She didn't push the issue any further. She simply murmured, "Fine, just replace them with something new later." As if I'd ever be that reckless. A single one of these timepieces costs tens of thousands. That's literally half a year's worth of living expenses. Buying a few watches would have me eating dirt in no time. Even though I was internally screaming about the cost, I kept my poker face perfectly intact. She's a high-born heiress, and everyone deserves their dignity. I flashed a confident grin. "I'll definitely buy you a new watch later." Bai Ningbing was momentarily dazed by my gaze. Though familiar, it had felt strangely alien over the past few days. That smile of mine was almost blinding to her. She subtly lowered her head and noticed the stack of parcels on the floor. She knelt down to assist, helping the courier load the boxes into the massive transport bags. It wasn't until the courier had officially departed that Bai Ningbing finally asked, "Just how much are you planning to offload?" Well, the inventory originally had over 100 watches, and 80-plus designer outfits. Over 70 of those watches were still in the original box. I'm liquidating 50 of them, and I've already moved over 40% of that goal. A rotation of 10 watches is plenty for me. As for the threads, I'll keep 30 sets and sell every other piece. I braced myself for Bai Ningbing to protest or stop me. To my amazement, she just gave a curt nod. She casually reached for an apple and sat on the sofa, starting to peel it with practiced ease. I couldn't fathom what was going through her mind at that moment, nor did I know if my actions had bruised her elite self-esteem. Regardless, survival is infinitely more vital than these passing insecurities. Even if she took offense, I didn't have the luxury of a second option. I did some market research this morning. Property values in this district have already surged by 50%. I don't know Bai Ningbing's master plan, or if she can truly stage a legendary comeback, but no matter the cost, I have to secure a permanent roof over our heads first. Liquidating these watches and threads means I can finally cover the down payment. After that, I'll hand the remaining balance over to Bai Ningbing. I'll handle the monthly mortgage grind on my own. Even if the young miss fails to stage a legendary comeback, I'll make damn sure we don't end up sleeping on the streets. A million schemes were racing through my mind. I kept my eyes glued to the laptop screen by the coffee table, but the cursor just blinked back at me without progress. Suddenly, a perfectly peeled apple materialized before my eyes. The crisp, sweet aroma instantly hit my senses. The skin had been spiraled off with surgical precision. I couldn't help but gulp as my mouth watered. I looked up to find Bai Ningbing offering the fruit directly to me. "Is this for me?" Bai Ningbing nudged the apple closer. "You've been grinding hard." I was legitimately speechless. Bai Ningbing was a literal goddess, but she was notoriously icy toward men, possessing zero patience for anyone's advances. Now she's peeling fruit for me with a breathtaking smile. It's honestly surreal. I scrambled to take the apple. "The watches are no big deal, really. They were all bankrolled by your money in the first place. I'm just grateful you didn't trash me for being such a parasitic loser before." Bai Ningbing actually let out a genuine laugh. She usually wears a stone-cold expression. While not exactly hostile, she radiates a keep-away vibe. Seeing her laugh now, I completely short-circuited. How can a human being be this devastatingly beautiful? "Don't sweat it. I'll definitely load you up with more watches in the future." I instinctively nodded, then felt a wave of cringe as I snapped back to reality. "I know you'll climb back to the top. No rush. I'll be waiting for that day. Keep that energy up. You've totally got this." Bai Ningbing maintained that ethereal smile as she turned on her heel and retreated to her room. Hidden from my sight, a flicker of genuine intrigue danced in her eyes. I spent the entire afternoon in a writing frenzy, finally crushing the 10,000-word mark. The two of us shared a lightning-fast dinner before retreating to our separate grinds. By midnight, I had clocked 20,000 words. The following morning, once breakfast was cleared, Bai Ningbing headed out and I focused on publishing the new chapters. Checking the marketplace, I saw 8 more watches and a designer set had vanished. It felt like watching some mountain of cold, hard cash march straight into my bank account. I was feeling absolutely invincible. Just as I finished polishing the draft and hit send, a rhythmic pounding echoed from the front door. "Who's there?" I stood up to intercept the visitor. A man's voice vibrated through the wood. "It's me, Lu Jingnian." Who the hell is Lu Jingnian? I puzzled while reaching for the handle. I scoured my memories for an eternity, but came up totally blank on the name. I swung the door open to find a lone man standing in the hall. He had that classic, punchable, pretty boy aesthetic. The second our eyes met, he began judging me from head to toe. It was the kind of stare that made my skin crawl with discomfort. "Aren't you even going to invite me in for a seat?" Lu Jingnian drawled, already poised to invade my personal space. I didn't have the slightest clue who this clown was. I blocked the entrance immediately. "Who exactly are you looking for?" "If you're Gu Xiaoyu, then I'm here specifically for you." The guy tilted his shoulder and forced his way into the living room. "Sister Bai isn't home right now, is she?" Since he had already barged in like he owned the place, kicking him out would have been a scene. I had no choice but to sigh and shut the door. I poured a cup of tea and slid it across the table toward him. "She's out. She left at the crack of dawn. Do you actually have business with me?" "Of course I do, to be brutally honest, though you're not exactly hard on the eyes. You have zero pedigree and even less talent. Sister Bai really pulled the short straw marrying you. I know old man Bai forced the match to settle some ancient debt, but you've been hitched for years now. You've been a total ghost in her career. All you do is burn through her cash and play house. Do you have even a shred of self-respect left? If I may be so bold, what exactly is your connection to Bai Ningbing?" "Sister Bai and I are childhood sweethearts. We grew up together. She adores me." If it weren't for you, we would have been the power couple of the century long ago. Funny, I've never heard of you. Aren't you just talking nonsense? Do you honestly think Sister Bai would, in your presence, ever bring up the fact that we're childhood soulmates? It tracked. Bai Ningbing definitely wouldn't have bothered mentioning this guy to the original owner. 1, they were strangers. 2, the guy was a ghost. I gave a slow nod. Right, so what's the real reason you're hunting me down? Sister Bai is currently drowning in a sea of crisis. How can you stand to be the anchor dragging her down? My father agreed that if we wed, he'll bankroll her comeback, so do the right thing and divorce her. If Bai Ningbing wants a divorce, she can come and deliver that news to my face. Why would she need a mouthpiece like you? I'm not exactly a thick-skinned parasite. Or is this just your own little fantasy? There's no way Sister Bai would proactively do something so shameless as that. She's obviously not in a position to say it. The move has to come from your side. You've bled her dry for years. All this time, you haven't contributed a single thing to her life. She's never given you a hard time. Now that she's in the trenches and you're useless. The absolute least you can do is stop being a lead weight around her neck. If you initiate the split, she can just gracefully follow your lead. Everyone saves face. Tell me, is this truly Bai Ningbing's wish? Is it my idea? Do you still not get it? Sister Bai is too noble to pull a stunt like this. What she needs is for us to proactively save her. You divorce her first so I can step in as her husband. That is the only way she gets my father's backing. If this were truly what Bai Ningbing desired, I'd sign the papers without a second thought. But you admitted this is your scheme. So tell me, before I married her, were you two even a thing? Did she ever actually love you? Lu Jingnian's teacup froze halfway to his lips. That's irrelevant. She's just not good at expressing her feelings, and besides, she clearly loathes you. I can save her, while you just hold her back. I'm 100 times the man you are. I think you're dead wrong. Maybe I don't fully grasp every facet of Bai Ningbing's character, but I'm certain she'd never accept your father's charity. Especially if that help is a transactional price for marrying you. You think your father saving her is a win, but you don't realize that if she builds her empire on his handouts, how can she ever hold her head high again? She would be forever branded as the woman who only succeeded through a pity marriage. I may not know the full depth of Bai Ningbing's heart, but I refuse to believe the heroine of this story is that weak, is not the type of person who would ever settle for being a parasite. In reality, if she hadn't been so determined to save her own dignity, she never would have been backed into such a corner of risk and ruin. How could someone like her ever sell her marriage as a down payment for a career? It's simply not in her nature. Truth be told, I have no personal hang-ups about divorcing Bai Ningbing, but I refuse to be manipulated into it by a low-life instigator like you. My position is final. Whatever path Bai Ningbing chooses to walk is her business alone. I hold nothing but absolute respect for her autonomy. Lu Jingnian looked like someone had just stepped on his tail, erupting in a fit of pure rage. You're just a pathetic leech refusing to let go, aren't you? Are you even a man? How can you be this selfish? Sister Bai has poured her entire heart and soul into providing for you. Now that she finally has a chance to rebuild her legacy, you're going to personally sabotage it? You're absolutely repulsive. Mr. Lu, I've been more than patient with you. Don't think you can just barge in here today and spew this stream of inappropriate garbage. You're starting to look like a desperate homewrecker. Since when did my marriage become a spectator sport for strangers? Even if you're delusional enough to think you're helping, you're barking up the wrong tree. If you actually wanted to help her, take it up with her. I don't own her life, and I'm not clinging to her either. As for this divorce, just use your brain for a split second. If she actually had feelings for you, why didn't you two tie the knot before her family found me? If the spark wasn't there, then why are you still stuck in the friend zone now? You claim she's honorable, yet your current stunt is making her look like a complete fool. You haven't considered her feelings at all. By what right are you judging me? You're just a spoiled brat who only knows how to burn cash. On what grounds do you stand? On the grounds that I am still her legal husband. As long as that title belongs to me for even one more day, I have every right to shut down anyone trying to meddle in our private lives. It's true that I used to be a shallow shopaholic, and I was pretty much useless to her. But back then she gave me her blessing to spend, and she never once complained. What's it to you? If you're so dying to marry her, go ask her yourself. The moment you two reach an agreement, I'll sign the divorce papers and vanish. But trying to strong-arm me here, I'm not playing your games. You're absolutely shameless. Lu Jingnian slammed his teacup onto the table, trembling with fury. My anger had vanished, replaced by a calm amusement as I toyed with my cup. A man trying to dismantle someone else's marriage calling me shameless? Where do you find the audacity? If that's your logic, we clearly live in different worlds. So you're sticking to your guns? You won't divorce her. Let's just say I'm not in any hurry to leave. Faced with a brick wall and realizing his little power play had failed miserably, Lu Jingnian surged to his feet and stormed toward the exit in a blind rage. Before vanishing, he spat over his shoulder. Just you wait. Sister Bai is going to dump your sorry self sooner or later. The door slammed with a violent crash. I let out a weary sigh. It's one thing for the female lead to be a magnet for drama, but even the secondary villains are this charming in their stupidity. If my own conscience weren't holding me back, I'd actually be tempted to walk away. But that's just a passing thought. I can't just hijack another man's body and act like I don't owe anyone anything. Even if I wasn't the one who squandered that fortune, it was still her legal husband who spent it, wasn't it? Pushing the drama aside, I logged into the site to organize the addresses and orders. Then I retreated to my room to retrieve the sold luxury watches. Once everything was labeled, I summoned the courier. Today's haul needs to be shipped out immediately to keep the momentum going. By my count, these sales alone have racked up over 2 million yuan. Once these buyers confirm their orders, my bank account is going to see a massive influx of cash. A few more sales and I can finally secure a small apartment, cover the down payment, and officially ascend to homeowner status. Mapping this out in my head, I'm suddenly overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude. I refuse to let another second go to waste. I resolutely fired up the browser and began scouting the city's real estate market. My first property investment has to be chosen with surgical precision. I lost myself in the search until the clock ticked dangerously close to noon. I didn't even have a moment to kill the tabs before sprinting to the kitchen to prep. Bai Ningbing mentioned she'd be back for lunch this morning. I was so busy manifesting my billionaire future that I completely lost track of time. I decided on wontons for lunch. Luckily, I'd prepped the savory filling early on. Even the wrappers were already stocked from yesterday's haul. Consequently, my hands moved with the practiced ease of a professional. Falling into a hypnotic rhythm, I was pumping them out every few seconds, quickly amassing a pile of over 20. I was so locked in that I didn't even look up when Bai Ningbing walked through the door. "You're back?" "Yeah." "What on earth are you up to?" Bai Ningbing asked, lingering at the threshold. She could see my hands blurring in motion but couldn't quite decipher the dish. The question slipped out instinctively. "Wrapping wontons. We're having a classic wonton lunch. I'm also whipping up some crispy baked cakes on the side. That way nobody leaves this table feeling less than stuffed." The words flowed out of me effortlessly, handcrafting cakes and wontons from scratch. This level of culinary skill is light years beyond basic home cooking. Flash of suspicion crossed Bai Ningbing's mind again, but watching me sit there so peacefully, skillfully crafting each piece, she decided there was no reason to overthink it. To be honest, I haven't had a meal like this in ages. The confession escaped Bai Ningbing's lips before she could catch it. Caught off guard by her own vulnerability, she lapsed back into a stony silence. Almost as if she were retreating from an awkward moment, she ducked into the bathroom. She began scrubbing her hands with focused intensity. I was completely oblivious to the tension she was feeling. Personally, I'm a sucker for wontons. Looking back at her recent history, Bai Ningbing was constantly drowning in a sea of high-stakes corporate drama. How could she have found the mental bandwidth to care about the quality of her food? Besides, wontons are just comfort snacks. It's only natural she hasn't touched them in years. In that case, do you want a double portion? I'll throw in extra for the next round. I'll prep the rest and toss them in the freezer. That way, if we're feeling lazy one night, we've got an instant feast. Then cook a little more for me. Bai Ningbing emerged from the bathroom, her voice steady as she made the request. She hadn't touched casual snacks in an eternity. The last time was easily 3 or 4 years ago. If I hadn't brought up this specific dish, she probably wouldn't have even realized exactly how long it had been since she truly let her guard down. "Coming right up, I'll get the water boiling now." My mouth gave the answer while my fingers continued their rapid-fire folding. From where I'm standing, life is finally looking up, filled with hope and these small pockets of joy. Life is truly whatever you have the courage to make of it. Getting a second chance at existence is the ultimate stroke of luck. Every single blessing, no matter how small, should be treasured. Being able to sit here comfortably, folding wontons and enjoying a quiet meal is the pinnacle of happiness. Nearly an hour later, 2 bowls of steaming aromatic wontons were finally served. I called out to Bai Ningbing that lunch was ready. I had already taken my seat. I gave a quick nod, gesturing for Bai Ningbing to hurry up and join me. An expectant, satisfied grin spread across my face. Go on, give 'em a taste. I've got a feeling these wontons are top tier. I wasn't sure about your appetite, so I figured these might not cut it. I whipped up some rice rolls as backup. By the way, are you even a fan of rice rolls? Hearing my rambling, she found it slightly amusing, though she kept her poker face intact. Of course, I'm a human being too. With that, she sat down, sampled one, paused for a silent evaluation, and finally dropped her verdict. The flavor is actually quite impressive. See, I told you my wonton game was on point. It's mostly because they're my personal favorite. Since they passed the vibe check eat up, we were eating at completely different tempos. Even though Bai Ningbing's portion was barely half of mine, she managed to clear her bowl at the exact same moment I finished. Just as I was gearing up to tackle the mountain of dishes, she suddenly cut through the silence. I'll have a dishwasher delivered later. It's just a couple of bowls. It's honestly zero effort for me. No need to waste money. It's not like it'll break the bank, so it's fine, Bai Ningbing replied nonchalantly. My face immediately shifted into a mask of internal conflict. What gives? Is the young miss still stuck in her old ways? Hasn't she realized that we aren't exactly swimming in luxury anymore? I debated whether I should just give eldest Miss Bai a blunt reality check. But catching the slight furrow in her brow, the warning I had prepared dissolved the second it hit my lips. Fair enough. I'll go scout for one later then. Don't sweat the details. I'm incredibly high maintenance when it comes to tech. It'll probably take me forever to find the right model. After saying that, I let out a silent, weary sigh. Being this visually blessed definitely comes with a unique set of problems. I couldn't bring myself to crush the young Mrs. Spirit. I just didn't have the heart to bruise her massive ego. Besides, I already played the picky eater card. Later, I can just use the excuse that nothing on the market met my standards to dodge the purchase. Bai Ningbing, witnessing my conflicted expression, suddenly decoded exactly what her husband was stressing about. For a fleeting moment, a very peculiar sensation washed over her. In the first chapter of her life, despite being pressured by her grandfather and having dealt with the sheer headache of a budget crisis, after her training wrapped up at age 15, she had never truly felt the sting of being broke again. This time, it wasn't a lack of funds, but rather that her husband in name was convinced she was penniless. Yet even so, he refused to utter the words, "no money," to her face. It was a fascinating feeling. She couldn't even begin to articulate the thoughts swirling in her mind. I've got things to handle. I'm heading back to my room. With that, Bai Ningbing turned and vanished, leaving me standing there to carry on with the dishwashing duties alone. I hummed a low tune while scrubbing. Honestly, life was starting to feel pretty solid. A roof over our heads, good food on the table, and my side hustle selling gear was booming. Before long, I'll have enough to secure a place that's truly mine. The future is looking brighter by the second. The young miss has the talent. Her return to the top of the food chain is only a matter of time. When she strikes it big again, maybe she'll even toss some commission my way. And even if she never makes a comeback, that's perfectly fine too. I'm more than capable of holding down the fort for now. Having someone like her as a companion, I don't have to worry about things falling apart with no one to watch over her. She's definitely not the type to stay idle forever. When the dust settles, we'll just live a quiet, normal life. If she wants a divorce, I'll sign, then find my own path. Both of us being safe and stable is more than enough. Dishes done, I headed back to the bedroom to prep for a much-needed nap. At that precise moment, Bai Ningbing abruptly swung the door open and stepped inside. Did Lu Jingnian give you a hard time today? Not exactly. He just demanded that I take the initiative to divorce you. I shut him down. I assumed there was nothing going on between you two. If you actually have feelings for him, we can end this marriage whenever you want. He claimed his father would bankroll your comeback if we wed. There's truly nothing between us, and I'd never leave you for him. You handled that well? Handled. As for everything else, we'll deal with those details later. For the time being, I don't require assistance from anyone. These aren't the kind of fires his father can put out anyway. I get it. I figured as much. I stood up, preparing to retreat to my room for a nap. Ningbing suddenly spoke up, her expression shifting into a slight pout. Is there anything else? Since when did you pick up the habit of napping? Feeling a prickle of guilt, I scrambled for an explanation. It's not a sudden whim. I just realized my previous lifestyle was total trash. My health was failing, so I'm forcing myself to recalibrate. Honestly, you should try catching some shut-eye, too. You'll feel recharged and crush your work much more efficiently in the afternoon. In that case, go get some rest. Bai Ningbing stood up and drifted toward her room, leaving me standing there, a wave of unease and anxiety washing over me. I couldn't help but wonder if I had overstepped or said something wrong. After surviving a massive scandal and the total collapse of a family empire, who wouldn't undergo a transformation? Bai Ningbing entered her sanctuary, sitting back at her desk with a cold, unreadable face, lost in a trance. A moment later, looking like she was still wrestling with her final decision, she pulled out her phone to place a call. Order a dishwasher and have it delivered to my address in a few days. There are still several factors that require deeper consideration before I move. Just maintain the status quo for the time being. After hanging up, Bai Ningbing set her phone aside and her gaze drifted to the bed. My advice about napping echoed in her mind. Is it really that beneficial? Before she could overthink it, she instinctively lay down and felt her muscles relax. It actually felt surprisingly good. She's been so buried under corporate stress these past few years, a peaceful sleep was a luxury she hadn't tasted in forever. Before she realized it, the clock hit 2:30 p.m. I emerged from my room, letting out a long, satisfying stretch before heading to the bathroom to splash some water. Just as I stepped back out into the hallway, I caught Bai Ningbing exiting her room, her eyes still clouded with sleep. Good grief, do all high society heiresses look this ethereal when they wake up? She's absolutely stunning. Someone this radiant is supposed to be the villain? The author must have poured their soul into designing this particular antagonist. But giving her such a gruesome, tragic end is a total crime, I muttered to myself. Unaware of my own transparency, a flicker of genuine pity leaked onto my face. Bai Ningbing instantly caught that look of sympathy. It seemed to leave her visibly startled, and she immediately averted her gaze. Do you need the bathroom? No, I'm all set. Please, after you. I hurriedly stepped aside. Once she disappeared inside, I dove back into my laptop. Ready to start the daily grind, I opened QQ and noticed a pending friend request. The bio stated it was an acquisition editor from a major literature site. Hearing the activity outside, Bai Ningbing finished freshening up and walked out. What's the news? My novel just cleared the initial review. Once I pass the next 2 rounds, I can start raking in the cash. Is that so? Then congratulations are in order. Thanks. After that, I completely tuned her out. Lost in the world of my story, I hunched over and let my fingers fly across the keys. Seeing me so intensely focused on the screen, Bai Ningbing quietly retreated back into the bathroom. Later that afternoon, I summoned the express courier to haul away the inventory. The driver who showed up was a young girl. Mr. Gu, are you running some kind of boutique? These timepieces look incredibly high-end. Any chance you could hook me up with a discount? I'm hunting for a gift for my boyfriend. I froze, frantically waving my hands in dismissal. Sorry! I'm not actually running an online shop. I'm just doing a massive favor for a friend by shipping these. The price tags on these watches are no joke. We're talking over 10,000 yuan each. With that kind of money on the line, I don't have the authority to cut deals. If you're dead set on one, I can try asking for you. Wait, 10,000 plus? Good grief, so these are all high-end luxury pieces, right? I'm not entirely sure, probably. Either way, they're wildly expensive. Just as the words left my mouth, the nearby elevator dings and slides open. Bai Ningbing stepped out into the hall. Those specific words I just uttered, did she catch every single one? What's the situation here? Oh, nothing much. The courier was eyeing a watch, but, well, they aren't technically mine. I thought I might reach out to my friend to see if a small discount was possible. No, never mind. If these watches are legit luxury items, then just forget I said anything. I'm just an ordinary person. I couldn't pull off wearing something that pricey anyway. Is this the whole shipment? If this is the last of it. Then I'll get these packed and be on my way. They'll be processed shortly. Yeah, that's the lot. Thanks for the hustle. The courier girl scooped up the parcels and disappeared back into the elevator. Only then did I realize I was awkwardly blocking the entrance. I quickly ushered Bai Ningbing inside. Why are you back so ahead of schedule? Didn't you have a mountain of work today? Also, why claim the watches belong to someone else? Admitting they're mine would be a rookie mistake. Our security here is questionable at best. If word gets out, we're basically inviting a robbery. Plus, that courier is a regular. We've built a bit of a rapport now. I'll need her for future shipments. If I claim they're mine but refuse her a fat discount, She might catch a grudge and accidentally damage my inventory. I could file a claim later, but it's a total headache. At the end of the day, you can see a face but not a heart, and we're just acquaintances. It's simply not worth the risk. I see. You've actually thought this through quite thoroughly. Oh, right. There's a banquet in a few days. We're expected to attend together. Start prepping early. A banquet? I'm a total newbie to that scene. Given our current situation, won't my presence just be a liability for you? It's fine. At this stage, no one has the power to mess with me anymore. Even if they try to stir up drama, I couldn't care less. Bai Ningbing calmly retrieved a glass from the table, pouring herself some water. Her confidence left me feeling a bit rattled. I'll make sure I'm ready within the next 48 hours. Bai Ningbing continued her routine of leaving at dawn and returning late, yet she made it a point to have both breakfast and dinner at the house. I eventually fell into the habit of prepping double portions for every meal. As for me, I spent my days grinding, writing chapters and flipping luxury items, all while obsessively researching high society banquet etiquette. The day of the event, the second Bai Ningbing walked in, she saw I wasn't glued to the sofa as usual. Instead, the moment the door creaked, I fixed her with an intense, unwavering stare. My expression must have looked pretty bizarre. She eyed the mountain of fabrics piled on the sofa and asked, "What's this? Why the shopping spree?" "Young miss, I desperately need your expertise here. It's been an eternity since I've stepped foot in a banquet, and I'm totally clueless. These are the suits I've scouted that seem decent. In your professional opinion, which one has the most impact? Didn't you used to loathe picking out your own wardrobe?" Back then, the entire vibe had shifted overnight. I was feeling a bit defensive, so I fought for the right to choose my own clothes just to salvage a bit of my pride. But now I've seen through the facade. A person's worth isn't defined by their past. There's no point being so defensive that people look down on you. I might as well just be real about what I don't know. It seems you've truly had a change of heart. Quick, tell me which suit makes the best impression. I'm totally stuck on this choice. Bai Ningbing scanned the options back and forth before casually pointing at the most classic black suit. "Go with this one." She didn't even blink. "Done. This is the one, then." With the suit locked in, I cleared away the rest of the clutter. When it was time for the gala, Bai Ningbing took the wheel herself. I intentionally slid into the back seat. Bai Ningbing caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "Aren't you freezing in such a thin layer?" "I'm good. It's long-sleeved anyway, so the chill hasn't hit me yet." "Why do I get the feeling your vibe toward me has shifted?" "How could it? We don't have any beef. You've been so supportive, I haven't even properly thanked you yet. It's mostly because we were practically strangers before. Now that we're seeing each other every day, I'm just a bit out of my element. I'll adjust soon enough." Bai Ningbing watched through the mirror as I awkwardly rubbed the back of my neck. The forced smile instantly vanished. I looked completely zoned out. Suddenly, I lost all motivation to keep up the small talk. Silence fell between us until we pulled up to the city's most prestigious hotel. Bai Ningbing and I had barely reached the entrance when our path was deliberately obstructed by an uninvited guest. The man blocking us was a greasy-haired, pudgy guy with a gorgeously dressed woman clinging to his arm. His face was a roadmap of pure malice. "That prime real estate in the East End. The Guan Yuan Group has been eyeing it hungrily lately. CEO Lee, aren't you going to scout the competition?" CEO Lee froze, his expression tightening before he plastered on a fake grin. "CEO Bai is as sharp-tongued as ever. Long time no see, what a lucky encounter." Bai Ningbing didn't give him another second of her time. She led me straight past him, continuing into the heart of the venue. I followed in her wake, spotting several former drinking buddies from my hazy memories. They were all trophy husbands or bottom-tier sons-in-law, useless heirs who weren't taken seriously by their families. Some saw me with a wine glass and moved to approach, but after spotting Bai Ningbing at my side, they chickened out and retreated. A few even signaled me from afar, "Hey, why don't you join us?" "Join you for what? A death sentence?" "No thanks. We weren't tight anyway, just social fluff. Now that the game has changed, it's better to cut those ties completely." After walking a few more paces, two young men and their dates intercepted us. The lead guy was older, maybe 30, with a nauseatingly fake smile glued to his face. "Well, if it isn't the legendary Miss Bai, it's been ages. And the man at your side is... Forgive my memory, I must be getting senile. He's Miss Bai's husband, right? Truly a rare sight to see you two out in public together." "What's the matter? Is life treating you poorly? A bit short on liquidity lately? Word on the street was that your marriage was on the rocks. But looking at you now, clearly people were just gossiping." Long time no see. I heard Mr. Duong's health had failed so badly he couldn't stand, but I see you've managed to crawl back up. Smart people trip once and learn to watch their step. Then there are the fools who aren't satisfied until they've plunged to their deaths in the exact same hole. Mr. Duong, wouldn't you agree? Spot on. It's just that some pits were once traps but have now turned into buried treasure. And when a treasure is just sitting there, naturally everyone wants a piece of it. I'm certain Miss Bai understands exactly what I'm getting at. Right. I heard Miss Bai has been drowning in business trouble. Since we're friends, here's a tip. Sometimes assets aren't just cash, they're people. I instinctively balled my fist. I instinctively stepped in front of Bai Ningbing to shield her. At that exact moment, a sharp woman's voice cut through the air nearby. Second sister, what on earth are you doing here? The color drained from the faces of the two men, and they recoiled instantly. Just taking a casual stroll. And what's the point of you two loitering here? Since when is my second sister someone you can just accost with your trashy small talk? Have the Tang and Chu families completely discarded their manners? Why are you still hovering? Are you waiting for a formal eviction? Do you think I'm as soft-hearted as my sister? The two men stammered and nodded, turning on their heels to make a desperate exit. The female companion with them was bold enough to steal a curious glance back at Xiao Rongyu, but she was immediately silenced by their frantic scolding. Second sister, honestly, if you were coming to this gala, why would you bring this guy along? Bringing him is bad enough, but you didn't even give me the courtesy of a heads-up. Those two pathetic losers actually had the nerve to act tough in front of you. You're far too merciful. It's fine, they're just insignificant clowns. But you usually dodge these events. Why show up now? I was worried that if you came alone, you'd be harassed by some bottom feeders who don't know their place. I went through a nightmare getting my manager to clear my schedule. Xiao Rongyu tilted her head, fixing her eyes on me. Her gaze was like a cold laser, scanning me from head to toe. Considering my sister's current predicament, if you're planning to leech off her remaining cash, forget it. Stop faking it. If you're gonna bounce, just bounce. I remained silent, absorbing her hostility. Don't talk nonsense. Our marriage is still legal. Let's go grab a seat over there. Fine, I'll tag along with you two. With the formidable Xiao Rongyu stationed beside us, no one else dared to approach our table. Among this crowd, anyone with real status knew Xiao Rongyu was a landmine you didn't want to step on. I expected a night of humiliation. As it happened, we hadn't been seated long before Bai Ningbing signaled to leave. Xiao Rongyu tried to invite her to an after-party, but after being coldly rejected by Bai Ningbing, back in the car I watched Bai Ningbing drive and wrestled with my thoughts for 3 tense minutes before summoning the guts to speak. Did you hit your goals at the banquet? I'll take that as a yes. Remember those watches and clothes I flipped? I'm sitting on a decent pile of liquid cash now. I was thinking, real estate prices are skyrocketing every single day. Renting is a dead-end plan. If you're feeling unsettled or vulnerable, we can register the house in your name. Having a permanent roof ensures we won't be homeless later. I'll take it under advisement. I retreated to my room to resume my writing grind. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing's phone vibrated with another incoming call. Second sister, I've secured the intel you wanted me to dig up. I've already fired over the encrypted file to your private email. This data hasn't touched any other hands. Take a look. The laptop screen in front of Bai Ningbing was pulled up to the inbox. She let out a heavy, weary sigh. Her fingers instinctively began a rhythmic, calculated drumming on the tabletop. Her brow furrowed into a tight, suspicious knot. After a long silence, she picked up her phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this Master Wang? I have a question that needs answering. In this world, is it possible for a person without a split personality or mental illness to suddenly transform into a completely different soul? The woman accompanying the men was dying of curiosity and tried to look back at Xiao Rongyu. A few minutes later, she terminated the call. Bai Ningbing let her body go limp, leaning back deeply into her chair. Her usually stoic mask suddenly twitched into a cryptic smirk. It was as if her soul had been possessed. The following morning, Bai Ningbing leisurely finished off a mantou, then a flower roll. She suddenly shifted her gaze toward me, appearing genuinely intrigued. What kind of plots do you usually cook up in those novels of yours? I froze mid-bite, my movements stiffening instantly. I dabble in all sorts of genres. I don't like boxing myself in. I have this drive to write everything under the sun. But my absolute favorite has to be isekai. I'm a sucker for anything with a reality-bending concept. Do you actually think isekai is a real possibility? I do. I truly believe it's real. No one can definitively say what the true nature of existence is. Sometimes, we're convinced we're living in a tangible reality, but maybe it's just a world constructed by someone else. Who's to say what's real? If we can't even verify our own reality, how can we claim isekai is just a myth? A world born from the tip of a pen? Exactly. In another person's narrative, we might just be a nameless extra or a tragic supporting character. So if you were isekai'd, what do you think your previous life was like? Probably a fairly blissful one. Loving parents, an only child, I basically had the freedom to chase any dream. My parents might have left this world too soon, but I'd already mastered my favorite field of study. I never wanted for food, drink, or comfort. Life was honestly great. In the end, if I were isekai'd, it would probably be from playing the hero and getting shanked by some villain, a pretty pathetic way to go. That does sound like a remarkably unlucky way to exit. You should think twice before acting. Even when being kind, stay within your limits. True. That's actually a vital survival tip. After that exchange, the two of us let the subject drop into silence. Following breakfast, Bai Ningbing headed out while I stayed behind to grind out my chapters. At midday, Bai Ningbing didn't make it back for lunch. I happily treated myself to takeout, finished my meal, and made a quick run to toss the trash. In the afternoon, following my usual routine, I dispatched the sold inventory. Then I ventured out to scout for fresh ingredients to cook. While navigating the supermarket aisles, it suddenly hit me that my current existence didn't feel all that different from my past life. As I was lost in thought, an auntie standing nearby suddenly struck up a conversation. "Aren't you the young man who was being hounded by that toxic girl the other day? Out picking up groceries too, I see." "Oh, it's you. Yeah, just grabbing some greens for dinner." Good for you. Very few young men these days actually know their way around a kitchen. Your wife is truly lucky to have a man like you." "Oh, not at all. She's grinding at work all day, so I've been picking up the slack at home. Meeting her was the luckiest break of my life. As long as people stay grateful, life has a way of working out. Young man, for someone so youthful, having that kind of perspective is incredibly rare. If your wife mirrors your gratitude, your future will only get brighter." I offered a polite smile and selected a prime head of broccoli. I was just about to pivot toward the tomatoes when Bai Ningbing materialized right beside me out of thin air. "What are you doing here?" "Caught a break and got off early, so I came to pick up some essentials. Just happened to spot you in the crowd." "It's no big deal. I only have 4 types of veggies. Is that bag heavy?" "I've got it. Just finish your shopping." "I noticed the tomatoes over there look perfectly ripe. I'm craving sweet and sour ribs tonight." Bai Ningbing definitely has a thing for tangy flavors. We hauled a mountain of ingredients and a stash of essential snacks before grabbing some uniforms. Shortly after, the two of them headed to the checkout counter together. "Oh, young man, we cross paths again. This must be your lovely wife, right?" "She is absolutely breathtaking." "Spot on, this is indeed my wife. I've honestly never laid eyes on a woman this stunning in my entire life. She outshines any movie star. It's no wonder you stood your ground against a divorce. That girl who harassed you the other day doesn't even belong in the same league as your wife. There's zero comparison. Even her presence is on a completely different level. I don't know how that girl had the audacity to approach you." I let out a sharp gasp as my heart skipped a frantic beat. Bai Ningbing shot me a look that was loaded with hidden meaning. While I managed a tight, nervous smile, she noted that the girl was clearly bad news. There's no contest. Even if I lost my mind, I'd never get tangled up with that type ever again. She came looking for me with nothing but venomous intent. Fortunately, I'm not the pushover I used to be and won't be fooled. The cashier swiped the card and slid it back across the counter. "Here is your card, ma'am." I practically scrambled out of the store with Bai Ningbing in tow. Once we hit the sidewalk, I immediately began to damage control. "Look, about that, I'm sure you're aware that long before our paths crossed, I had an ex-girlfriend by the name of Lu Ruyan. Back in my college days, I was naive to how twisted people's hearts could really be. Which is exactly why I fell for that manipulative green tea girl's act. Obviously, the moment we married, I ghosted her and cut all ties. The other day, I was just leaving the store when she ambushed me out of nowhere. I could smell her ulterior motives a mile away. So when she tried to lure me away, I shut her down instantly. That auntie was just one of the good Samaritans who helped put that girl in her place." Bai Ningbing nodded slowly, indicating she was already well aware of Liu Ruyan's existence. "The second daughter of the Lu group? I've heard she's incredibly petty." "Exactly, she's the definition of petty. Back then, she put on a massive front, acting like she was some kind of high-class elite. At that time, the original owner, I wasn't exactly... It's not that. I just genuinely thought she was an impressive upperclassman. so I felt totally inferior in her presence. Who knew that later she'd admit that her heart belonged to my classmate and she was just using me for sport? Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. I loathe that kind of fake green tea energy. Just make sure you keep your distance from her from now on. I wouldn't give her the time of day if she begged. Wasting even a second on a girl like that is a total waste of a lifetime. After we got back, I threw on my gear and started prepping the kitchen. Bai Ningbing stepped into the kitchen. "Do you need a hand with anything?" I jumped slightly at the offer, frantically waving my hands to decline. "I've got this covered. You're swamped with work all day. Just go take care of business. I'll give you a shout the moment the feast is ready." Bai Ningbing gave a brief nod before pivoting to head back to her room. I tightened my apron strings and dove back into the culinary grind. The dishes were finally finished and plated elegantly on the table. I walked over and gave a soft knock on Bai Ningbing's door. Bai Ningbing released her mouse, swiftly closed her windows, and stood up to join me for the meal. The two of us typically maintained a comfortable silence during our dinners. I had no intention of fishing for conversation topics, but today was a rare exception. The moment Bai Ningbing took her seat, she broke the silence. "The technicians are coming tomorrow to install the dishwasher." The hand holding my food froze midair. "A dishwasher? You actually bought one? Didn't you say you'd give me time to pick one out? You claimed you were suffering from decision fatigue, so I chose for you. Your only job is to use it." I felt a wave of helplessness. "Fine, I'll make sure to stay home tomorrow then." The dialogue hit a dead end, and we both prepared to finish our meal in peace. Then my phone vibrated. "Hello? Is this Mr. Gu? I've been looking for you." I didn't catch on to the situation immediately. Why was Bai Ningbing so insistent on me meeting with Song Qingyan? Song Qingyan's voice buzzed persistently from the other end of the line. "Xiao Yu, don't let a few rough patches turn you into a cynic who hates everyone. Trust me, not everyone is out to trample your pride or look down on you. Even if I can't fix your problems, I can still be the shoulder you lean on to vent. You've been carrying this burden for so long, do you really plan on suffering in total isolation?" In the eyes of the original owner, Song Qingyan had always played the part of the incredibly supportive older brother figure. He was the understanding type, so the original owner used to spill every secret to him. That absolute trust was exactly why the original owner was a puppet on his strings. So, when Song Qingyan encountered my cold shoulder, his instinct was to assume I was just acting out like a spoiled child. "Fine, if you're going to put it like that, I'll show up and hear your grand pitch." I caught a sharp, confirming signal from Bai Ningbing's eyes. I had no choice but to play along, and the man on the phone sounded insufferably smug. We exchanged a few more hollow pleasantries before I finally cut the call. "Why are you pushing me to meet with that guy?" Bai Ningbing set her chopsticks down and spoke in a low, calculated tone. "Mr. Song never makes a move without a purpose. In the past, he only reached out to you, to milk you for intel regarding my every move and strategy. Now, even though you've supposedly outlived your usefulness, he's still hunting you down. He must have sniffed out a new angle he can weaponize. If you dodge him, he'll just find a more dangerous way to crawl back in." Her logic clicked instantly. If the confrontation is inevitable, I might as well let him walk right into my trap. Sure enough, Bai Ningbing added, "Whatever happens, it's better to hold the cards than to be played by them. Besides, being wary of a known enemy is a luxury compared to being blindsided by a secret plot." "Yeah, I hear you." I wasn't oblivious to the strategy. It's just that my old life never required this much mental gymnastics. I'm still struggling to fill these shoes, and I'm even less prepared for this cutthroat environment. But this Ice Queen boss Bai is usually a woman of few words. Suddenly dropping all this wisdom on me, is she actually mentoring me? Across from me, Bai Ningbing resumed her meal with her usual effortless poise. From my perspective, her elegance remained unshakable, even in the face of treachery. She seemed completely unfazed by the fact that people were actively plotting her downfall. That's right. The actual target of the original scheme was the guy whose body I'm occupying. I doubt I have anything left for Song Qingyan to steal. His real target is definitely boss Bai Ningbing. As for the meeting, Bai Ningbing's only directive was for me to keep the conversation flowing naturally. But I had to steer clear of anything sensitive and report every detail back to her. I nodded, burning the location into my brain. It was one of the most prestigious high-end cafes in the city. The moment I got the address, I did a quick price check online. The cheapest item on the menu was over 200 yuan. I had never indulged in that kind of luxury in my entire life. On the day of the showdown, I prepped my look and dressed sharp. Though I'll surely be ridiculed But at least on the surface, I refuse to let anyone trash me for looking like a total slob. However, I never expected that the very first thing to come out of Song Qingyan's mouth would be such a viciously sarcastic remark. Xiao Yu, I know you're hurting. You've always been prideful, but now that you've hit rock bottom, why bother putting on such a pathetic front just to play tough in front of me? It's not like I'm going to look down on you. If I hadn't already clocked Song Qingyan's snake-like nature, I might have actually believed the guy was doing me a genuine favor. For him to spew that garbage while maintaining such a perfectly forged mask of concern, honestly, his acting skills are top tier. Young Master Song must be hallucinating. No matter how much life sucks, a man never stops grooming. Besides, I'm blessed with these looks. It'd be a crime to let them go to waste. How many prime years does a guy really get? Naturally, I refuse to squander a single second. And given the genetic jackpot I've won, if I don't keep myself looking sharp, I'm basically spitting in the face of God's favor. Since this clown decided to bring a knife to a gunfight, and I'm no longer a doormat, I immediately aimed a verbal blade right at his jugular. Right, sure, okay. Our Xiao Yu is the ultimate heartthrob. Let's move. I know you've been spiraling lately, so let's just grab some tea and vent. I might not have all the answers, but I can at least be the ear you need to dump all those heavy burdens on. You'll feel like a new man once you get it all out. He maintained that oily smirk while condescendingly patting my shoulder. We were escorted by the staff to a secluded VIP suite with the most breathtaking panoramic view. I was silently stunned. This is truly the playground of the elite. This place is on a whole different dimension compared to those budget tea shops. The sheer scale of this courtyard alone represents a staggering fortune in prime real estate. This level of architectural finesse is clearly the masterpiece of a world-class designer. Song Qingyan noticed me practically drooling over the courtyard scenery. He likely assumed I was drowning in nostalgia for my lost life of luxury. He was definitely mocking me in his head, but he kept up the nice guy act. Xiao Yu, what's your poison today? I suddenly snapped back to reality. My eyes practically sparkled as I rattled off a massive list of menu items. They were every single overpriced signature specialty I had memorized from my online research. Xiao Yu, you're ordering like a man possessed. Do you actually plan on finishing all of this? Song Qingyan's suspicion was written all over his face. I decided right then and there that I didn't give a damn about my dignity. I played the part of a starving man who'd been deprived of fine dining, and I made no effort to hide it. If I can't clear the table, I'll just pack it up. It's not that deep. Pack it up? You're actually going to carry out leftovers? Are you truly that desperate for a free meal? You bet. If I leave this stuff behind, it's a total waste. I'm not playing with the same bankroll I used to have, so I'm cutting costs wherever I can. Besides, being frugal is a core virtue. Why the shock, young Master Song? Are you telling me you have a problem with traditional virtues? Song Qingyan opened his mouth to fire back, but found himself completely cornered. He sat there stunned for a beat before stammering out a reply. You're right. Good for you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being sensible. Exactly. I honestly feel like I was way too reckless with my cash before, buying all those luxury flexes I didn't even need. It wasn't just a waste of money, it was a total drain on my time and energy. If I had invested that time into something with actual substance, just imagine where I'd be now. When you think about it, there are so many people out there genuinely struggling. I can't believe I was so blind to it before. Funneling that cash into sponsoring kids in underdeveloped areas would have been life-changing. Way better than letting a hoard of designer junk rot in a closet. Oh, right. Since you're such a saint, young Master Song, you must be a regular philanthropist, helping out the less fortunate, right? Song Qingyan is a master at gaslighting and curating a fake persona, but actual charity? That's a total pipe dream. He hasn't got a selfless bone in his body. Spending money on anyone but himself was a foreign concept. How could a parasite like him ever be generous enough to share his wealth? Nevertheless, he managed to force a seemingly heartfelt smile. Of course, whenever I find a spare moment, I do what I can for those in need. After all, my parents drilled it into me from a young age that we must spread the wealth and provide a lifeline to those in need. Song Qingyan clearly assumed I wanted to share a deep, sentimental heart-to-heart with him. However, I pivoted the topic. Since young Master Song is so generous to total strangers, and our bond is supposedly so legendary. Now that the tables have turned and I've become a struggling, penniless soul, surely young Master Song won't hesitate to bail me out, right? He never anticipated that I, a man who always obsessed over his public image, would actually drop all pretenses and beg like this. He was caught completely off guard. Young Master Song, you have no clue. My current existence is an indescribably miserable hellscape. I don't even have the courage to eye a single designer watch anymore. I have to endure the icy glares of my family members every single day. Yet I'm too terrified to even whisper about money. When I reach out for help, everyone just leaves me on red. Watching Song Qingyan's face twitch as his composure began to crumble, I decisively lunged forward, closing the distance between us to grab his hand in a vice grip. I locked on tight, ensuring he didn't have a prayer of slipping away. Young Master Song, you're the only saint kind enough to still seek me out. You're my last hope, the only one I can turn to. You're usually swimming in cash, casually dropping a few $100,000 like it's pocket change. To an old comrade like me, you wouldn't dare be stingy, would you? You'll save me, right? After all, we're brothers for life. I stared into Song Qingyan's eyes with a look of desperate, unwavering sincerity. Realizing the snake across from me still hadn't taken the bait, I offhandedly mentioned how I hadn't even reached out to any of my female friends to vent lately. That single line struck Song Qingyan's Achilles' heel. He was on the verge of a total meltdown. Every high society woman he pursued treated him like a plague. On the surface, he masqueraded as a noble and refined gentleman, but behind closed doors, everyone knew he was a bottom feeder. He couldn't scrub the filth from his reputation. Finally, his family forced him to lay low and vanish from the public eye. The only reason he crawled back to me this time was to fulfill a specific objective, hoping to flex some modicum of competence in front of the woman he was currently chasing. Xiaoyu, what are you even saying? Think about the history we share. How could I possibly stand by and watch you drown in poverty? Didn't I come looking for you the moment I touched down back in the country? You know my heart. It's practically made of gold. Seeing even a complete stranger suffer ruins my entire day, let alone a close friend like you. Relax. While my liquid assets are a bit tied up, I can spare 80 or maybe 100,000. I'll wire it to you immediately. Just take the cash and use it to keep your head above water for now. Don't you dare act like a stranger with me, okay? By the way, after Miss Bai's empire collapsed, how are things between you two? How would I know anything about those corporate details? You know how I am. My degree back then had absolutely zero to do with the business world. Even if she explained it all to me, it would just sound like gibberish. Whatever, as long as there's food on the table, I'm satisfied. She's always been a workaholic anyway. I have no clue what she's busy plotting. Even if I bothered to ask, I wouldn't understand, so I just stopped caring. Initially, I was ready to sign the divorce papers and walk away. But then she mentioned there were no lingering debts, so I figured we might as well keep up the act. I heard that Liu Ruyan went crawling back to you recently, didn't she? But let's be real, she's far from a decent person. Useless as I might be, I refuse to let her see me break. I'm intentionally playing the loyal husband to spite her. Before, she couldn't hold a candle to Bai Ningbing, and she still can't. I might not be a high achiever, but the fact that Bai Ningbing hit rock bottom and didn't take it out on me proves she's got a solid soul. I'd rather trust someone with character than a piece of human trash. But don't you think Miss Liu only realized you're her true soulmate after she lost you? You've never known true hardship, this pathetic, miserable lifestyle. When is it ever going to end? To be honest, I don't think my current life is that unbearable. Back when I was loaded, every single day was plagued with fake friends and absolute nonsense. My mind was constantly cluttered with toxic, chaotic thoughts. Retail therapy was the only way I knew how to cope. Now life is peaceful. I'm finally the master of my own time. It's not like I'm some fragile prince who can't handle a little grind anyway. Didn't I survive on exactly this kind of budget back in my pre-college days? So this is actually a massive win. I have zero reasons to complain. I'll just have to brainstorm some hustle to stack some cash later. Are you seriously planning to join the workforce? Get real. What kind of value could someone like you even provide? Picture it. If you're stuck working a street stall or a supermarket aisle, and you run into your old crowd, then what? High-end jobs aren't exactly handed out. You're looking at unskilled labor at best. Can you even stomach that? It's not that deep. No matter how much of a mess I am, I'm still a legit honors grad from an elite university. I lack experience, but I'm a fast learner. I've got the toolkit. Fluent English, technical skills, I'm solid. Only then did it dawn on Song Qingyan that I actually relied on my own raw intellect to bulldoze my way into a top-tier institution. Then I got tangled up with Bai Ningbing and Liu Ruyan. Comparing that to himself, a total academic failure, who needed daddy's money to buy a gold-plated degree from overseas. His mood instantly turned toxic. But his ego refused to take the L. Degrees are just paper. The real world runs on experience. You're decades behind the curve. You'll never be able to out-hustle hungry fresh graduates. It's going to be a bloodbath. I'll just give it a shot. If I could conquer an elite school, a simple job shouldn't be harder than the national exams, right? Oh, look at me, why am I venting to you? My bad, young master song. It's only natural you wouldn't get it, so don't sweat it. After all, you've never had to work a day in your life. I'm actually low-key jealous. At home, you leech off your parents, and later you can just leech off a wife. You don't have to lift a finger. You can just coast through life until you hit the grave. That's the dream, honestly. In other words, he's a parasitic loser who's useless at everything except living off others. Song Qingyan fought to keep his face from twitching, thinking venomously, so reckless and tactless, no wonder his life is such a train wreck. Internally, I was riding a massive high. The two of us kept trading blows, both fully aware of the bad blood but maintaining a polite mask while taking subtle jabs at each other. The difference was that Song Qingyan's insults were like mosquito bites to me, while my retorts hit every single one of his insecurities. By the time we called it quits, I was absolutely glowing with satisfaction. As for Song Qingyan, he was on the verge of an absolute internal combustion from pure rage. Before I bounced, I made sure to remind Song Qingyan to settle the tab. Song Qingyan, plotting to lure me out again in the future, to flex his status and fish for more intel, gave a stiff nod of agreement. Then he begrudgingly wired a cool 100,000 yuan straight to my account. I secured the bag and headed back to the house in high spirits. When I stepped inside, Bai Ningbing was perched on the sofa, buried in her laptop. At the sound of the door, Bai Ningbing shifted her cold gaze toward me. I entered the room, swapping my shoes and clothes for something more comfortable. Even as I headed to the sink to wash up, I couldn't wipe the grin off my face. I was clearly vibing on a whole other level. "You're back! Ha 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 ha." I stepped out for one meeting and walked away with 100,000 yuan for free. Am I impressively OP or what? I brandished the phone that I always kept within arm's reach. My voice was dripping with pure, unadulterated smugness. 100 grand for free? I assume that song guy paid the stupid tax? He started flexing his ego and digging for secrets, so I hit him with the counterplay. Then I pulled the poverty card and trapped him with flattery until he couldn't retreat. All while low-key hinting that if he didn't pay up, I'd tell our entire social circle that his charity was a total scam. To save his nice guy brand, he had to open his wallet. Bai Ningbing thought to herself, the previous version of him wouldn't even save a grand, blowing it all on designer bags, while the man standing before her is radiating joy over a mere 100,000 yuan. A peculiar sensation stirs in her heart. It would be a sin not to drain him dry. Squeezing cash out of Song Qingyan is a rare achievement. Open your Alipay, I'm sending it over. It's basically free money, consider it a long overdue debt repayment. Just take it and splurge. Don't worry about the house running dry. Bai Ningbing found the situation refreshingly bizarre. He actually looked quite noble, telling her to go on a spending spree. Is there some task you need me to handle? No. The house is fully stocked for now and everything's in working order. Bai Ningbing wasn't asking about chores. But judging by my oblivious expression, I was clearly on a completely different wavelength than her. She actually pulled out her phone and launched Alipay, hovering it right in front of me. Without missing a beat, I wired the fresh funds, cash I hadn't even had the chance to touch, directly into her account. As if handing her this fortune was the most natural, mandatory act in the world. I didn't feel a shred of remorse about handing over Song Qingyan's loot. It was rightfully yours to begin with. Didn't the funds to wine and dine young Master Song come from you? Now that he's paying the bill, it belongs back in your hands. Even though I've got a soft spot for cash, I've developed a taste for earning it myself. My novel royalties are already rolling in. As long as I'm around, I won't let you go hungry. We might not be feasting on caviar, but we'll always have plenty of porridge and greens. In that case, thank you. Don't even mention it. After all, you treated me like royalty back in the day. Oh, right, I snagged some high-end takeout. It's completely untouched. You want in on this? Despite being raised in the lap of luxury since birth, Bai Ningbing was far from a wasteful socialite. Aside from high-stakes business dinners meant to flex her wealth, she stuck to 3 modest meals at home. The only real difference was that her personal chef had elite skills. Back in her school days, it wasn't like she was too good for the occasional takeout. Sure, I was genuinely stunned that she actually agreed to eat it. I assumed a pampered young miss like her wouldn't touch peasant food like this. I started to stammer. Wait, I just realized I only packed the desserts. Is that cool? Is that a problem? I practically scrambled to the door to retrieve the bag. I tore it open, and sure enough, it was a hoard of cakes and various pastries. Bai Ningbing casually selected a piece and took a bite. After a quick swallow, she delivered her verdict. This definitely hits different when it's served warm. Wait, you've actually had this before? Bai Ningbing shot me a look, leisurely sliding a tissue out to wipe her fingertips. My grandfather used to be obsessed with it. Old man Bai was a fan, so she'd occasionally pick it up for him. He must have shared a few bites back then. It hit me like a ton of bricks that my offer just triggered a wave of grief for her. I immediately blurted out an awkward, "I'm sorry." There's no need for apologies. The past is a separate world from the present. Don't sweat it. So what's the plan for dinner tonight? I'll be the one cooking for you. I still felt a heavy pang of guilt. That young miss from the past had basically carried the original owner on her back, even after my reincarnation. She hadn't given me a moment of grief, and here I was, accidentally rubbing salt in her wounds while her empire lay in ruins. I felt like a jerk. Anything is fine. I've got a mountain of work and need to head out soon. Don't expect me back until late. Got it, just focus on the grind. I'll be waiting here to have dinner with you. Bai Ningbing paused to look at me. She was clearly about to tell me not to bother waiting up, but seeing the genuine remorse etched on my face, she bit her tongue. Okay. Once Bai Ningbing vanished out the door, I took a moment to breathe before giving the entire house a top-to-bottom deep clean. Then I locked into my writing zone for a solid session. Once that was done, I went on a grocery run. Right around 8 o'clock, the distinct click of the front door echoed through the hall. Looking up from my notes, I saw Bai Ningbing finally stepping inside. I hit save on my document with a quick tap. Welcome back. The food should still be piping hot. Are you starving? Bai Ningbing shed her coat and draped it on the wall. The chill covering her body from outside was instantly banished by the home's warmth. Looking over, the dining table was already set with food. He'd eaten, but everything was covered up. Bai Ningbing changed her shoes and entered. Waiting until now? You're hungry, right? I just need to wash my hands. I'm fine, not that hungry. I might not be back often. From now on, if I'm not coming back, I'll let you know. Just eat then. Don't wait for me. Got it. I figured someone like Bai Ningbing wouldn't be like other 9-to-5 workers who come home for dinner on time every day. If she doesn't come back, I can actually be a bit more relaxed. Eating alone, sitting wherever, all that inner guilt would be gone. I made a rather lavish dinner. Believe it or not, I even hand-steamed various buns. Dainty flour rolls, sugar buns, webtoon, and sweet potato rolls. They looked adorable, about 2 or 3 bites each. Bai Ningbing picked up a flour roll. She finished it in a few bites and found the flavor quite good. The buns are great. Right? Back then, I spent 3 or 4 days researching how to steam them perfectly. I finally found the exact ratio and timing. My favorites are flour rolls and sugar buns. All my friends liked them when we had nothing to do. I was talking when I suddenly messed up. In my excitement, I almost slipped. This skill is truly not bad. You meant your college friends, right? Yeah, college friends. We haven't kept in touch much since. It's been a while since I steamed buns. Glad the skill hasn't rusted. Luckily, she didn't overthink it, or I'd be caught instantly. I secretly rejoiced, not noticing the interested look on her face. I simmered today's chicken soup for quite a while. Drink up. The chicken soup I make is always top tier. Bai Ningbing really liked this soup. Restaurant soup always lacks that certain something, but mine has the full profile. She knew it wasn't just about flavor, but the feeling of someone being willing to put in the effort to simmer soup for her. When she was little, Mother Bai also liked simmering chicken soup for Bai Ningbing. Except the taste wasn't actually that great. But because she always said drinking chicken soup was healthy for kids, Bai Ningbing was always forced by Mother Bai to finish it all back then. After Mother Bai and Father Bai unexpectedly passed away, Bai Ningbing had tried all sorts of chicken soups. The chefs and the maid of the Bai family had all researched the recipe. Unfortunately, no one could replicate that flavor. As Bai Ningbing grew older, she stopped showing any special interest in chicken soup and it was gradually forgotten. Bai Ningbing felt her tolerance for this man might have a specific reason. The vibe he occasionally gave off was like Mother Bai's. "Why are you looking at me? Is there something on my face?" I realized Bai Ningbing was staring at me. Doesn't she know that when she stares, it puts massive pressure on people? Or did she sense something was off? "It looks like you have dark circles under your eyes." Wait, what? I stood up and looked in the mirror for a long time. I thought I could vaguely see a slight trace. So this is the sign of dark circles? I couldn't help but shiver. Bai Ningbing just made a casual comment, not expecting such a strong reaction from me. Seeing I wasn't coming out, she asked in surprise, "What's wrong? Not eating?" As the words left her mouth, I peeked out. Maybe I've been staying up a bit too late. The novel's getting a bit long. Actually, a little dark circles don't matter. You're still very handsome. Suddenly hearing Bai Ningbing praise me like that, my cheeks flushed. Embarrassed, I finished eating and stood up to clear the dishes. But Bai Ningbing stopped me. "Let me do it today." No need, I can handle it." As I spoke, I took the dishes from her hands and quickly headed toward the kitchen. Bai Ningbing chuckled silently and shook her head, not fighting me for it. Walking through the living room, she saw the laptop on the coffee table still had a document open. Out of curiosity, she walked over to see what I'd written. I finished tidying up the place and stepped out, only to stumble upon a sight that left me paralyzed. Bai Ningbing was perched on the sofa in a poised, elegant stance, chin resting on one hand, completely absorbed in the novel I'd written. "Stop, don't look!" I nearly threw myself in front of her. I was mortified that she'd find my writing cringeworthy or just plain weird. And why shouldn't I read it? Is this story not up to your standards? Fine, have it your way, I'll stop. While I was internally spiraling, wondering if I'd been too aggressive, she paused at her bedroom door. She suddenly tossed a critique over her shoulder. "Honestly, a female lead who ditches her entire corporation for the male lead over every minor inconvenience is a bit far-fetched. A real CEO wouldn't have that kind of luxury." With that final sting, she vanished into her room. She casually clicked the door shut, leaving me rooted to her spot, eyes wide in shock. Miss Bai had definitely devoured at least 2 chapters. And of course it had to be the 2 most melodramatic, dog-blood cliché chapters in the book. Even though my passion project was getting roasted, I wasn't mad. I just wanted to explain to Bai Ningbing that I was crafting a fantasy romance, not a textbook on realism. If I wrote a grounded CEO story, it'd be a dull mess that no one would touch. Too bad the young miss doesn't get web novel tropes, so I kept my mouth shut. A few mornings later, Bai Ningbing had finished her breakfast but was still lingering at home. A sudden, sharp rapping echoed at the front door. I'd just finished the dishes and went to intercept it. Who could that be? Weird, who's knocking this early? The visitor stayed silent, their pounding only growing more insistent. I cautiously peered through the peephole. 2 young women stood outside. Both exuded an icy, powerful aura. Either could pass for a top-tier celebrity. Definitely not your average citizens. My chest tightened with sudden anxiety. I turned and gave a soft knock on Bai Ningbing's door. "Someone's outside and they look like they're here for you." Bai Ningbing let go of her mouse, stood up and glided out of her room. Seeing the concern written all over my face, she waited. "There are 2 women out there who look like serious business. Check if they're yours. I've definitely never seen them before." What I didn't say was that I was terrified they were debt collectors or rivals here to harass her. In my head, I was already running through battle plans in case things turned ugly. Outside, Song Qinghuan's hand paused mid-knock. Wu Xuanin, standing beside her, muttered, "Are you positive this is the place? Is this really where Big Sis lives now? Why is the door still locked? Maybe she's out. Didn't you say she hasn't ditched that goo loser yet? Is he gone too?" "You're asking me, but who am I supposed to ask? I told you to stay put, but you wouldn't listen. Big Sis is drowning in work. You aren't dying, so she's in no rush to see you." "But I need to see her. It's been a whole year since I've seen Big Sis." "She's had such a string of bad luck lately. If I don't see her with my own eyes, I won't be able to sleep." She pouted with stubborn resolve and resumed her knocking, which had now escalated into a straight-up assault on the door. The door suddenly swung open. "What are you 2 doing here? Get inside." "Big Sis, I've missed you so much. Your favorite little sister is back," Song Qinghuan shrieked with joy. He lunged at Bai Ningbing, trapping her in a massive hug before finally pulling back. "You're back? Good. As expected in Little Fifth's world. Big Sis is the only real family and the rest of us are just background noise. Hurry up and get in here." I stood behind them, my jaw practically hitting the floor. Big sis? Could these two be the legendary young misses? The two ride-or-die best friends. Song Ching-hwan marched in, brimming with excitement. She turned her head and collided with my bewildered gaze. She looked equally stunned and pointed a finger at me.
Why is there a man in the house? Wait, are you Gu Xiaoyu? What are you still doing here? And why shouldn't I be here?
Big sis, it's one thing not to divorce him, but you're actually living together? If we don't stay here, should we sleep on the sidewalk? Since when did you become such a chatterbox? Xiaoyu and Big sis are still legally married. Sharing a roof is perfectly normal. Now come in and take a seat. Song Ching-hwan opened her mouth to argue, but she couldn't even manage a fake smile for me. She chose to act as if I were invisible, sidestepping the sofa to sit down. Wu Xuanning gave me a subtle nod before moving to take her seat. With guests in the house, I retreated to the kitchen to prep some tea for the group. When I returned, I was met with 3 stunning women, each claiming a spot on the sofa. Aside from Bai Ningbing, the other 2 were drilling holes through me with their eyes. That suffocating silence made me want to vanish instantly. I've got some business to attend to this morning, so I'll leave you ladies to it. Don't wait up for me at lunch. Fine. The moment the words left my mouth, I bolted to the bedroom to grab my coat. I threw my essentials together and made a hasty exit. Ever since Bai Ningbing dropped that line, Song Ching-hwan had been staring at her with total shock and utter disbelief. The second I stepped out and clicked the door shut, she blurted out with a twisted expression. Eating at home? Big sis, are you actually calling this place home? If she hadn't pointed it out, it might have slid by. But even Bai Ningbing faltered for a heartbeat before regaining her icy composure. I've been taking my meals here lately. The stuff he whips up is actually impressive. That's just wrong, big sis. Are you seriously planning to tether yourself to this man for good? Beyond that pretty face of his, he doesn't have a single redeeming quality to brag about. Is our social circle suddenly running low on eye candy? I refuse to believe you'd fall for him just for his looks. If he was your type, you would have made a move years ago, but it shouldn't have escalated to this, right? Forgive my bluntness, but out of all the handsome guys we've encountered over the years, I've never seen a better specimen. A man you haven't seen in 3 days deserves to be judged with fresh eyes. Before your stint abroad, you barely knew him, and since your return, you've had 0 interaction. Where do you get the nerve to judge? Do you honestly think Big Sis is some kind of fool? There's clearly a calculated reason she's tolerating Xiaoyu's presence. Lest you forget, in the eyes of the public, our Big Sis is currently penniless. For Xiaoyu to stick around instead of jumping ship in a crisis like this, doesn't that strike you as suspicious? Previously, while helping Bai Ningbing audit her files, Wu Xuanning had scrutinized every detail. Her conclusion was baffling. She suspected Bai Ningbing was keeping him close, just to dismantle his motives slowly. After all, a frontal assault is much easier to parry than a poison arrow hidden in the shadows. However, before Song Ching-hwan could even mutter an agreement, Bai Ningbing dropped a bombshell that left them speechless. It's not some grand conspiracy. He's changed. He's actually quite decent now. The only reason he's still under this roof is because he literally has nowhere else to go. Now, in his downtime, he grinds for his own cash and handles the cooking. It's almost like he's rebooting his life from his pre-college days. No way! Then why hasn't he signed the divorce papers? Starting fresh and being single, those two things are completely independent of each other. Why is he so determined to stay by your side? There are complex factors at play that are better left unsaid. Just try to show him some basic respect from now on. He isn't the villain you've made him out to be. Song Ching-hwan opened her mouth to push for more, but Wu Xuanning cut her off instantly. Big Sis has her own endgame. Naturally, it's not our place to worry. Since Xiaoyu isn't the trash we expected, we'll play nice for now. Little Fifth, I'm not trying to lecture you. I know you're loyal to Big Sis. But you? Can you stop hitting the panic button every time Big Sis's affairs come up? Stop letting Little Sixth lead you by the nose, or you're going to lose your ability to think straight. How could that brainless Little Sixth ever be compared to me? It feels like you're becoming 2 peas in a pod. We specifically told Little Sixth to stay away from that party, but she just couldn't resist crashing it, nearly blowing Big Sis's cover and causing a disaster. The two of you are cut from the exact same cloth. Give me a break. I just touched down and had no clue what was popping, yet you failed to give me a straight answer. Talking in all those riddles. If I haven't dropped dead from frustration, it's only because my heart is made of steel. Song Ching-hwan shot a fierce glare at Wu Xuanning. The other woman just smirked as the memories came flooding back. Anyway, let's drop the subject. Now that Little Fifth is back on the scene, are you finally ready to join the song group? I'm dreading it, but my old man is breathing down my neck. You guys know the drill. I have zero passion for the auto industry. It's mind-numbingly boring. You might not be feeling it, but whose fault is it that you're such a natural-born prodigy? Back in high school, you were already helping your father sniff out lethal flaws in a brand-new prototype. You seriously think he's going to let a talent like yours walk away? He probably thinks that having a genius daughter like you, born to conquer the family empire, is a jackpot he'd wake up smiling from every single day. Please, just end my misery. If I knew my old man was that manipulative, I never would have taken the bait back then. My glorious era of freedom is about to go extinct. My dreams of dominating the food industry are being ripped away by my own father. And another thing, it's so tilted. That old man never even pretended to be a foodie. Yet he managed to mask that cunning side of his for all these years. Truly terrifying behavior. Having your elders pave a path for you is a luxury, you know. Your uncle has pulled a lot of strings to set you up, so don't take it for granted. I was never built to be like Big Sis, someone who can actually vibe with high-class culture. To me, every tea tastes exactly the same, gulping it down for a quick fix. Isn't that good enough? Ha ha ha. You've got a point as long as you're vibing. Ha ha. Being roasted didn't faze Song Ching-hwan in the slightest. If I don't get the refined thoughts of scholars, then I don't get them. It's not that deep. I was never on Big Sis's level to begin with. By the way, Big Sis, what's your actual game plan moving forward? I refuse to believe that stepfather of yours is actually that OP. How can any human predict every move and consistently stay 10 steps ahead? Big Sis, are you positive there isn't a rat in your inner circle? The faint traces of a smile on Bai Ningbing's face vanished instantly. She went quiet for a beat before saying, I can't pinpoint the leak. Even when I keep my plans under lock and key, they still get out. If it were just a mole, it wouldn't explain how he's this precise. While she laid out the mystery, Song Ching-hwan and Wu Xuaning leaned in, hanging on every word. What if I sweep your gear again? Maybe there's some high-tech surveillance I overlooked before. Doubtful. I've gone completely off the grid, moved houses, burned my old wardrobe, and still he's one step ahead. Does this guy actually have some kind of cheat code? Is there really no way for eldest Sis and the others to break him? None. We tried to jump him from every angle, but whether it was a calculated trap or a direct hit, he slipped away every single time. Somehow, he wormed his way into the Wen family's good graces, and then Elder Wen personally intervened to shut us down and drop a heavy warning. Elder Wen, how is that even possible? Hasn't he been retired from these petty power struggles for years? That guy Chi is a total parasite. He's beyond annoying. If you're gonna throw hands, then throw them. But he actually went and called in the cavalry. Does he think this is some elementary school playground scrap? You hit me, I tell on you. That annoying Elder Wen. What's his angle for helping him? I've never known the man to have a charitable bone in his body. The word is his wife managed to save Elder Wen's life. She's an actress under his wing. But why go through the trouble of targeting Big Sis? Big Sis has her hands in so many different pots. Even if he's trying to build his construction empire, it shouldn't clash with her other industries. Bai Ningbing looked at the grim expressions on her sisters' faces and suddenly let out a soft laugh. All right, isn't this situation much better now? Stop stressing. Now that I'm officially bankrupt, it's the perfect opportunity to see what he's really plotting. Penniless, without a single cent to my name, only then can I truly determine if that bastard was actually hunting you specifically, or if he just wanted to devour the firm to fuel his own expansion. Big Sis, do you really plan to bet everything on the tech sector? That field is a money pit. There's no telling when you'll see a return. Tech is the ultimate frontier for the future. I've been itching to pivot and upgrade for ages. Before, I was forced to carry those leeches from the Bai family. Now that I've cut the dead weight, it's a total relief. This is actually a blessing in disguise. Even if it helped Big Sis dump some baggage, the hit you took was massive. Once I take the reins of the family empire, I'll help you bury him. I refuse to believe he's some god who can predict every single move. Bury him? Just mastering the basics of the family business will take you a lifetime. By the time you're ready, Big Sis will have already staged a legendary comeback. Just focus on your own grind. Big Sis is 10 times more calculating than you. And at the end of the day, you've still got us. You've been a workaholic for years. You've earned a little break, so why the rush? Big Sis, how are you so chill right now? When have you ever seen Big Sis lose her cool? Now that you mention it, I've literally never seen Big Sis panic over anything. All right, Big Sis, if you need a hand with anything, just summon me. I'll be there in a heartbeat. The three of them chatted for a bit longer before heading out together. I returned home in the afternoon to a blessedly empty room. I finally let out a long, exhausted sigh of relief. The energy of Miss Bai's inner circle is terrifyingly intense, and they made no effort to hide their contempt for me. Surviving that encounter really tests a man's mental fortitude. I claimed I had business to attend to, but in reality I had absolutely nothing on my plate. I just needed a desperate excuse to escape. Once outside, I realized I was essentially a man without a destination. So I ended up killing time at an internet cafe. A stunning girl sitting at the next station was deep in a gaming session. She kept stealing glances at me, turning her head every few seconds. Predictably, she started catching L after L in her games. Then, just as she reached her breaking point and tried to strike up a conversation, I abruptly switched to a different terminal. Despite my attempt to distance myself, the girl actually followed me across the room and sat near me again. She even had the audacity to try and spark a dialogue, asking why someone like me would come to a gaming hub just to write. It felt like she was trying to leech some positive energy off me or something. The whole situation left me feeling utterly drained and helpless. Stepping back into the apartment, I could finally drop the act and unwind. I swapped into my loungewear, gave a massive stretch, did a little victory hop, and collapsed onto the sofa. After a moment of contemplation, I decided a hot shower was non-negotiable. I checked my phone one last time to confirm the message from Bai Ningbing. She definitely wasn't expected back until the dead of night. I decisively bolted into the bathroom. After a therapeutic hot soak, I dried my hair and brewed a fresh glass of lemon tea. I raided the stash of snacks I'd picked up earlier in the day. Happily cocooning myself on the sofa, I hesitated for a split second before flipping open my laptop. I pulled up a movie I'd been dying to see and settled in for some quality me time. As the film rolled, I kept mindlessly shoveling snacks into my mouth, between sips of refreshing lemon tea. Truly nothing beats the bliss of zero worries, fresh hair, and a movie marathon with snacks. Since waking up in this world, this is the first time I've felt truly alive. As the movie hit its peak tension, I was practically glued to the screen, oblivious to the world around me. Right at the moment, a door in the film suddenly creaked open. The piercing, real-life sound of the front door swinging open rang out. I swear the sound editor deserves to be fired. That door sound effect was completely out of sync. Did you skip lunch or something? Bai Ningbing's voice suddenly sliced through the air from the entryway, sending me jumping out of my skin. The potato chip I was clutching tumbled right onto my lap. Glancing up, I was met with Bai Ningbing's slight judgmental frown. She stood there, radiating authority with her head tilted, just boring holes into me with that scowl. Actually, she wasn't just looking at me, but eyeing my empty hand. To her, the man standing just a few feet away must have looked like a dazed little creature, completely paralyzed by shock. You're giving off major koala vibes right now. I thought you weren't supposed to be back until late tonight. It was a struggle, just to reboot my brain and find my voice. I couldn't mask my flustered state, and my words leaked a hint of unintentional protest. Bai Ningbing glided into the living room, her slippers silent on the floor. Her eyes drifted toward the window. The work is finished, so I returned to my home. Little Fifth was dead set on auditing her company, but Mr. Song suddenly hauled her back, so she had to scurry home to see what the emergency was. The site visit is postponed. It's not like the company is going to vanish into thin air. I'll get around to inspecting it sooner or later. There's no point in rushing for a day or two. Did you seriously skip lunch? I gingerly pinched a corner of the crinkly potato chip bag. Slowly sliding it out of sight, I forced a shaky grin onto my face. I ate. Trust me, I ate. Just catching a flick and grazing on a few snacks, you know? As I rambled, I stealthily dragged the bag of chips beneath the table and unceremoniously dumped them into the bin. From the previous guy's memories, Miss Bai wouldn't touch junk food with a 10-foot pole. That made me feel like indulging in these greasy snacks right in front of her was incredibly low class. That stuff is pure poison for your body. Stop eating so much of it. Right, totally. It's just a rare treat, I swear. Anyway, does this mean you're having dinner at home tonight? The moment those familiar words "at home" hit her ears, Bai Ningbing's expression shifted for a fraction of a second. I had already picked out my takeout order for the night, but now I'm stuck in the kitchen. The movie marathon is officially dead. That early shower was a total waste of water. I was just peaking in a state of pure bliss, but the harsh realities of the world always have a way of crashing the party when you least expect it. What's with the face? Aren't you going to harass me about what I want to eat like you always do? Bai Ningbing had finished pouring herself a glass of water and looked up at me expectantly. I suddenly realized I must have looked absolutely pathetic. No, it's nothing, really. What's the craving for tonight? Whatever works for you. Surprise me. Meatballs it is, then. Perfect timing, since there's a mountain of soy pulp left over from this morning's milk. The plan was to fry up some meatballs tonight and save the rest for a soup tomorrow morning. Since you're back early, I'll just get a head start. I'm heading to the kitchen. Proceed. Go on, then. I'll give you a shout when it's ready. Waiting for Bai Ningbing to retreat to her sanctuary, my eyes drifted back to the dark computer monitor. Catching a faint reflection of myself on the screen, it finally dawned on me that I was so busy hiding the evidence that I completely forgot my hair looked like a bird's nest. Now I understood exactly why Miss Bai was looking at me like I was a freak. I bolted from the sofa and sprinted straight for the bathroom. Snatching up a comb, I went to town until every strand was in place. I was drowning in self-reproach. How could I let myself get this sloppy and careless? Had I forgotten all about Murphy's Law? Now look at the state of me, debuting such a mess in front of Miss Bai. It's a straight-up legendary embarrassment. Contrasting my look with Miss Bai's radiant jade-like elegance from moments ago, I seriously contemplated headbutting the mirror in shame. Under normal circumstances, I'm not the type to obsess over my looks. But for some reason, Bai Ningbing has this aura that makes people feel standing beside her while looking like a mess makes you feel like you're disintegrating into ash. I strongly suspect the reason Bai Ningbing is so widely loathed stems from this exact issue. She's constantly surrounded by the elite, arrogant young masters and high society heiresses born into luxury. These people usually carry a massive, unearned sense of superiority over the common folk. But then she appears, and the moment she steps into the room, her overwhelming aura crushes everyone else into the dust. Who wouldn't be threatened by that? The reason the previous owner never even dreamed of conquering Bai Ningbing was simply because he lacked the spine and the courage to try. Now I have to play chef for this walking masterpiece. And it better be a 5-star meal. I need to summon every ounce of willpower to ignore her charm and actually eat while facing her. Deep frying meatballs is a surefire way to get yourself drenched in the smell of grease. I locked my eyes on the sizzling oil pan with a look of dead serious concentration. My hands moved with practiced, agile precision. I kept flicking meatballs one by one into the boiling oil until the house was filled with a mouth-watering aroma. An hour later, Bai Ningbing finally emerged from the sanctuary of her room. The moment she cracked the door, she caught the scent of the fry-up and heard the faint sizzle. She followed the fragrance to the kitchen only to find me looking intensely focused. My movements were effortless as I hummed a nameless tune, looking completely blissed out. The perfectly golden brown meatballs were being scooped out one by one. One little golden nugget is fresh out of the fryer, and a whole squad of babies is lined up ready to take the plunge. You guys are such adorable little meatballs. You're going to taste heavenly. In a minute, I'm going to transform you all into the ultimate meatball soup. I won't let your sacrifice be in vain. Treating cooking like a whimsical adventure. Bai Ningbing had never seen anyone find this much joy in a kitchen. Driven by curiosity, she crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe, watching silently to see what other madness I'd get up to. I certainly didn't disappoint her expectations. Since the pan was nearly empty, I cleared the last batch and spun around to dice the prepped veggies. And the whole time, I was still deep in conversation with myself. You guys are such precious babies, too. Looking this vibrant must be exhausting, right? Don't worry, I'll take care of you, ensuring you're floating happily in the broth. I won't let your short lives be spent for nothing. While muttering to myself, my brain was actually firing off ideas for my novel's plot. Turning around, I was suddenly confronted by a living, breathing person at the door. I was so startled I practically levitated 2 steps back. Good Lord! I came within an inch of falling flat on my back. Bai Ningbing was clearly just as startled by my over-the-top reaction. She instinctively lunged forward to break my fall. Before she could even reach me, I managed to stabilize myself against the sink. Bai Ningbing's hand brushed against my waist. That sudden, confusing warmth felt like a lightning strike. I felt a visible shiver run down my spine. Why did you sneak up like that? You nearly gave me a heart attack. Is something wrong? No, I just came out for some water. I heard weird noises from the kitchen and came to investigate. I was just vibing. Cooking solo is a bit of a bore otherwise. Anyway, are the meatballs finally finished? Yeah, do you want to do a quality control check and try one? Bai Ningbing hesitated for less than a heartbeat. Oh wait, what was I thinking? These fried meatballs are delicious, but they're definitely not on your health food list. If you're not starving, just hold on. This stuff is pretty greasy. Even though Bai Ningbing couldn't quite follow my erratic logic. He was well aware that this snack was simply a bit indulgent. Calling it unhealthy felt like a bit of a stretch. She took a commanding step forward. How do I eat this? I stood there frozen, stunned that the cold goddess actually intended to take a bite. On pure instinct, I held out the chopsticks I was using. Bai Ningbing accepted the chopsticks and gave them a sharp look. She realized immediately that these were already used. Her entire posture went rigid with hesitation. What's the matter? Nothing. She handed the chopsticks back to me. Under my confused gaze, she reached out, pinched a golden ball, and popped it into her mouth. I watched the scene unfold with my jaw hitting the floor. The elite young miss actually used her bare hands to snack on street-style meatballs as she bit into the piping hot savory treat. The rich aroma of beans and seasoned oil exploded across her palate. The heat scorched her tongue, making her hiss in a sharp breath, but the taste was pure heaven. The space between us had practically vanished. Bai Ningbing finished the snack right in front of my face. She suddenly caught my eye. Seeing me gawking at her like an idiot, she demanded to know what was wrong. Her face moved closer, and I was sent into another state of panic. Fortunately, as I scrambled backward this time, I didn't lose my balance, but I didn't get far. My back slammed hard against the kitchen wall. Is it not up to your standards? Fine, whatever. If you're done here, please head out. The kitchen is a total grease trap right now. The meatballs are already crisp and ready. Whipping up the soup will be a total breeze. It'll be ready in a flash. Go on, get out. I'll summon you when the feast is served. Finally managed to finish the meatball soup after an uphill battle. My earlier carefree vibe had been completely nuked. Bai Ningbing could obviously tell that my energy had bottomed out. I served her a bowl piled high with food. Meanwhile, I prepared a modest bowl for myself with extra low garlic. Didn't you fry a mountain of those? Why did you make such a small portion for yourself? Wait, is that not enough for you? I glanced at her bowl, which was a literal tower of food. Given her typical appetite, she should have been stuffed. Was she having some kind of hunger crisis today? She pointed a slender, elegant finger toward my meager serving. Take a good look at your bowl. I inhaled too many oil fumes, so my appetite is basically dead. I'd never confessed that right before dinner. I stepped on the scale and realized I'd gained 2 pounds in a week. Bai Ningbing didn't press me, but as I sat there trying to eat, I kept shooting longing glances at her delicious-looking bowl. My eyes were screaming, "I'm starving, please feed me!" Recalling my habit of weighing myself before every meal, she finally put the pieces together. You went way too hard on the junk food today. It wasn't a question. It was a cold, hard fact. I felt like a dagger had been plunged into my soul. I didn't... Bai Ningbing didn't say a word. She just leveled me with a knowing, piercing gaze. Fine, Rumi, you caught me. I did have a little snack session. But it was just a bowl of jelly, a box of cookies, some popcorn, and maybe half a bag of chips. Hearing it listed out makes it sound like a binge, but there's no way that adds up to 2 pounds. Processed snacks are toxic, so cut back. If you're dying for a cheat meal, go out for it. As for the current food situation, I'll find a way to make it work. I didn't expect those words to come out of Bai Ningbing's mouth. The flicker of annoyance that had just sparked in my chest was instantly snuffed out. Her expression remained as stoic and unreadable as ever. But that flash of concern was 100% genuine. Actually, Miss Bai is surprisingly decent. She was just dropping some real talk for my own good. Message received. I'll keep the snacking to a minimum from now on. Bai Ningbing fell silent, and I focused on obediently finishing my meal. Once done, I handled the dishes and cleared the table. I retreated back to my natural state of being a total homebody. But for once, Bai Ningbing didn't just ghost me. She stepped out of her room and sat right beside me. I had a word with my friends today. They won't look down on you like that again. Their previous misconceptions have been officially cleared up. If they drop by again, don't feel like you have to go into exile. You mean your besties? She nodded. It's fine, honestly. Whether they get me or not doesn't change my life one bit. At the end of the day, they're your circle, not mine. I'm not bothered. Besides, it's only natural for them to find me irritating. I'm clearly not in their league. Let's just stick to staying in our own lanes. When they visit and I'm out of the way, everyone can actually breathe and talk freely. Plus, I actually had some real business to handle today. Are you still planning to grind on that novel of yours? Yeah, but the movie's done. I've got a bit left. I'll wrap it up when I can find the time. If you're worried about disturbing me, just throw on some headphones. I silently pulled my hand back. I had been reaching for my water glass. I flashed a strained smile. Why would I mind? You're the genius who knows everything, after all. Is being a walking library really that big of a flex? She didn't offer a comeback, but instead grabbed the glass for me and set it down. If you want to write a masterpiece, just mindlessly watching movies is a waste. You need to dissect them. I don't care about the noise. Watch whatever you want. Anyway, I'm done. Bai Ningbing stood up and vanished back into her bedroom. I took a sip of water and set the glass aside. I still couldn't bring myself to hit play. If I don't put in the work, where is the success supposed to come from? Over the next few days, Bai Ningbing remained in grind mode, out before dawn and back after dark. Our lives synchronized only at breakfast and dinner, leaving the daytime for our own separate hustles. Then, one afternoon, Bai Ningbing unexpectedly returned home early. I was currently in the zone, fingers flying across the keys. Hearing the door, I didn't even break my focus. Out of habit, I muttered, "You're back?" Suddenly, a high-pitched, bratty voice echoed through the room. The pure shock and concentrated disgust were impossible to miss. "Why is this loser still here? Haven't you kicked him to the curb yet?" The intruder was the son of Bai Ningbing's cousin. Both his parents had been lost in a tragic accident. Since they were the closest family Bai Ningbing had while they were still around, she stepped up and adopted the boy after the tragedy. This charming kid was named Bai Zi. He was 8 years old and viewed the original owner as absolute trash. It wasn't just a one-sided grudge from the kid's end, though. Truth be told, the original owner was never exactly the doting parent type. Since the boy entered the picture, he hadn't given him a single friendly look. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Once, during a school break when the boy was home, starving to death, and just as the chef was about to prep a meal, he fell ill and ghosted. The brat wouldn't stop screaming for food. The original owner was too busy networking with his homies to care. Without a second thought, he ordered a dish for the boy that was straight-up radioactive. The food was lethally spicy, leaving the kid bedridden and sick for days. In a rage, Bai Ningbing nuked the original owner's allowance, slashing it to nothing. From that moment on, the two were at each other's throats more than ever, until I got isekai'd into this mess. Unlike that guy, I actually find kids tolerable, but little Baizi, he definitely hasn't warmed up to me yet. His savage attitude just now made that crystal clear. The divorce hasn't gone through, so his presence here is perfectly valid. Not only that, but from this point on, you'll be sharing a roof with him too. He's the one in charge of your meals now. What? Auntie? You've got to be kidding me, right? In the past, whenever he acted like a brat toward me in front of Bai Ningbing, she'd stay silent as long as he didn't cross the line into total chaos. She never interfered. Why the sudden change of heart? Auntie, tell me they're lying. Are you really broke? Is that why you're tolerating this loser? I kept my mouth shut, dying to see how Bai Ningbing would play this. Bai Ningbing casually flicked little Baizi's forehead with zero hesitation. Even kids need to filter their thoughts. Don't pull the innocent child card with me, because I truly am bankrupt, which means you have zero options. Baizi stood there completely catatonic, eyes bugging out for 3 seconds before he started thrashing his head. No way! Dad always said you were the GOAT! How does a legend go broke? Your empire was massive. How does it just vanish? Oh my God, I'm not even a man yet. Am I supposed to get a job? I'm just a kid and I'm already the breadwinner? But what's my hustle even gonna be? I'm only in 3rd grade. Maybe. Auntie, can you get me a gig as a child model? I've mastered the catwalk and I'm a total 10, so brands will be begging for me. Keep dreaming, because you have zero clout now. You think those ugly kids get modeling gigs on merit? It's not about looks, it's about family status, and yours just hit rock bottom. Auntie, you're capping! You know everyone who's anyone, and you've saved so many people. Make them pay up and help us! Listen well. People love to celebrate your success, but they'll leave you to freeze in a storm. When you help someone, don't expect a refund. Just be glad if they don't twist the knife when you're down. Bai Ningbing trailed him into the bathroom, her voice echoing off the tiles. Then what's the move? We're stuck in this dump forever? No more 5-star dinners, no more designer fits? The kids at school are whispering that I'm going to be a transfer student soon. Is it true? Yes. Once break is over, this is home. The luxury lifestyle is dead. As for transferring, do you actually want to stay? No! My classmates are all snakes, laughing at me. They think I'm clueless, but I hear every single insult. But I won't run away. My tuition is already cleared for the next semester anyway. Bai Ningbing guided Baizi back out, and they settled onto the living room sofa. I was doing a great job acting invisible, but I couldn't stay on the sidelines anymore. I silently brought over a bowl of tangerines and set them on the table before Bai Zi and Bai Ningbing. The fruit bowl is looking a bit tragic, so these will have to do for now. But everyone says I'm a nuisance. When you're powerless, being mocked is just part of the game. But even at the top, the haters will still talk. It just gets louder. If you're strong enough, they'll at least have the decency to talk behind your back. She spoke calmly while peeling a tangerine for the boy. As Baizi reached out to snag the fruit, he shot a skeptical glance in my direction. Baizi turned his head, processing Bai Ningbing's words, then eyed me again. His lips twitched as he hesitated, finally asking her, "So, what am I even supposed to call this guy?" "Just call me Xiao Yu." "Whatever, Xiao Yu. You're on break now, right? What are you craving? I'll whip something up." "You actually know your way around a kitchen? Then why were we starving before?" The kid looked adorable, but his questions were straight-up savage. "We had a personal chef back then." "You sound so full of it. As if you're actually a pro." "Whatever, I'll eat anything. Just toss some random stuff in a pan once the rice is ready." But when it came down to it, the difference was night and day. I poured way more effort into the cooking than I usually would. I went all out to make the presentation and the flavors kid-friendly. Honestly, I'm a total sucker for kids. Back in the day, I'd always be the one teasing my nephews. Looking at Baizi now, I was already sold. A little Shota like him is simply too precious. If our history hadn't been such a train wreck, I probably would have squeezed him in a hug. Bai Ningbing led the little guy away. A while later, I wrapped up in the kitchen and went to call them. Baizi had swapped into his pajamas and emerged, dutifully washing his hands before hopping into the chair I set out. The moment he saw the spread on the table, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Wait, you actually made all of this yourself?" He pointed a finger at the feast. Every dish was crafted into adorable cartoon faces, and even the rice had been transformed into a beaming smiley face with some mystery garnish. Of course, that was strictly the kid's menu for him. The portions for me and Bai Ningbing were kept strictly professional. The brat had his own bespoke meal. On his very first day of break, he was getting the full VIP experience. "I'll pick up a set of child-sized plates later. Using these massive ones is just a struggle for you. There's no need for all this extra effort. I'm not a baby anymore. I don't need to be coddled. I eat normal adult meals at school, too. I'm literally in 3rd grade now. Even when you're a college grad, you'll still be a kid to us. Besides, the kitchen is my domain. Your only choice is whether to eat or stay hungry. If you skip this, I'm cooking your most hated veggie tomorrow. Since we're broke, if you don't eat this, there's no allowance for snacks. You'll just starve. You're really something else." When someone shows you such kindness, what's the proper response? Baizi slumped his shoulders and obediently muttered to me, "Thank you, Xiao Yu." I couldn't resist reaching out and ruffling his hair. No big deal. It's obvious the little guy is secretly loving the attention, but he's playing it cool. Total tsundere vibes, but that stubborn pride is actually cute. You don't have to keep making special exceptions for him. Bai family heirs aren't supposed to be picky eaters. Baizi nodded along vigorously, trying to look like a hardened heir, all while shielding his hair from my hand. The kid being tough is his business. An adult wanting to spoil him is the adult's right. Can little Z really not handle a little affection? Is he that fragile? As if, how could I possibly go soft just because of some fancy rice? Then I guess little Z will just have to endure my sweet-flavored attacks for now. I have absolutely no defense against adorable kids. It's a stroke of luck that we've got a little guy in the house now. It gives me the perfect excuse to level up my cooking. Thanks for being my guinea pig. Whatever. Bai Bing observed the whole interaction and finally stopped trying to block my culinary pampering. The 3 of us began our meal. As the food disappeared, Baizi was vacuuming his plate way faster than I ever remembered. It was a dead giveaway that he was absolutely vibing with today's menu. Once the table was cleared, I headed to the sink for the usual cleanup. Baizi looked even more traumatized. "You even do the dishes? Man, we really have hit rock bottom." "That's just how it goes. In this life, highs and lows hit you when you least expect them. So you'd better hit the books and stay sharp. Otherwise, you might not even have a bowl of rice to look forward to." "I'm literally the top of my class. My school is a national elite. I even signed up for a major competition this term. The teacher thinks I'm a lock for first prize. Oh, and the payout is huge, 50,000 yuan. That'll keep us fed for ages. Must be the life being a silver spoon kid at a prestige academy. Even a primary school contest has a prize pool that would make a salary man weep. Well then, you'd better sign up for every contest you can find." Auntie used to ban me from competing. Now she probably won't care. If I sweep 4 of them, that's 200,000 in the bag. Then we'll finally have some cash for groceries. Wait, that's not right. My schedule is way too packed. If I want to keep my GPA from tanking, I can only handle 3 competitions. That's only 150,000 yuan, barely enough to survive. 150,000 yuan isn't enough for food? Kid, do you have any idea how many people are grinding for less than 10,000 yuan a month? 150,000 is a massive haul. 150,000 yuan would barely cover 2 of my watches. Is it really that much? Back when I was eating shark fin, how much did a single serving even cost? What does commoners making under 10,000 have to do with us? Am I not on a different level? Sigh. I never realized being broke was this haunting. It can turn a shopaholic into someone who actually thinks 150,000 is a fortune. Auntie hasn't even been poor for that long. It's called singing the song of the mountain you're standing on. When you're loaded, go wild. When the well runs dry, you obviously have to pinch pennies. Even if you actually pull in that 150,000, you can't just blow it all on living the high life. If our lifestyle takes a dive, the quality of our meals is naturally going to follow suit. But as long as you keep eating my home-cooked food, I promise you won't end up malnourished. Relax, man, this place is a total buzzkill. Bai Ningbing, clutching a glass of water, approached with her usual elegant stride and glanced at Bai Zi. Enough talk. It's time to crush your homework. I'm on it. After saying that, he made sure his back was turned to Bai Ningbing. He shot me a shush sign, acting like a total rebel toward Bai Ningbing. What's the sleeping arrangement? Are you crashing with Auntie? I'll look into renting another place later tonight. She had originally planned to ship Bai Zi off to some elite camps during the break, but the little brat refused to go, so he ended up back here. I've been weighing what I said about buying a house. How much progress have you made on that? Over the last few days, I've liquidated a few more watches and designer clothes. Securing the down payment definitely won't be an issue. Let's dig deeper into the listings. Since Xiao Zai is on break and staying under our roof, let's aim for a 3-bedroom. My current royalties can tank the mortgage, so don't stress the budget. I was terrified the big boss would worry about the price tag and settle for some subpar dump. The 2 of them lapsed into silence. Each retreated back to their own private world. With a kid running around the house, the place felt instantly flooded with life, especially since Bai Zi was anything but the shy, quiet type. Bai Ningbing had to grind at work all day, leaving just me and Bai Zi at home. At first, we just stayed in our own lanes, but boredom eventually kicked in, and Bai Zi started drifting out of his room to hang and chat with me. After all, no matter how mature a kid acts, you can't suppress their natural curiosity. Once he realized I had genuinely leveled up into someone who actually cared about him, Bai Zi finally dropped the icy act he had at the start. Why haven't you divorced my aunt yet? She's literally out of cash. Even I think it's sketchy, but broke is broke. If you stay, she won't be able to bankroll your lifestyle like before. You said it yourself. She used to spoil me with cash. So shouldn't I be the one to back her up during the struggle? If I ghosted her now, wouldn't that make me the ultimate scumbag? Do you really want me to dump your aunt so she has to raise you solo? You'd be all alone, and you wouldn't even have a personal chef to feed you. That's not the point. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't starve to death. I don't know what kind of miracle happened to you, but right now, you actually don't seem half bad. I used to absolutely despise you. I felt like you were a total airhead who only knew how to shop. My aunt marrying you was like buying an automatic ATM. But back then, my aunt was swimming in money. So she didn't mind the minor loss. It's just a shame. She could have landed a much more impressive husband. Well, luckily, it looks like you've finally grown a spine. Back when they were still with us, my parents taught me never to judge a book by its cover, but to weigh someone's true character and soul. Your IQ might be a bit mid, but you don't fold under pressure and your vibe is actually decent. I couldn't help but ruffle his hair. You're overthinking things, kid. This grown-up drama isn't for you. Your only mission is to ace your classes and live your best life. Don't even trip about my grades. I already told you I'm perpetually at the top of the food chain. Stop comparing a genius like me to those basic kids you know. I'm a literal member of the Mensa Club. I teased him by pulling back the slice of tangerine I was about to hand over. I popped the fruit into my own mouth, watching Bai Zi's annoyed face as he chewed. So, did I mention? I'm an alum of an elite academy, too. I'm not capping about the famous school part. I graduated from a top-tier Ivy League university. The reason I married your aunt and devolved into a brainless shopping addict Well, there was a method to the madness. Now that my head is clear, the real me is back. Got it? I offered him another wedge. Just as Bai Zi reached for the snack, I snatched my hand back once more. Watching him grab at thin air, he snapped, "Are you gonna give it to me or what?" I let out a smirk. This time, I finally let him have the win for real. "Eat up, champ. How do some handmade wontons sound for later? Since I'm actually starving, you better make a mountain of them, okay? I'll make sure this young master leaves the table stuffed." I saved my draft and stood up to head for the stove. Bai Zi tracked my silhouette into the kitchen, his eyes glimmering with a feeling he couldn't quite name. Pure attachment. Ever since the tragedy claimed his parents, he hadn't tasted a life overflowing with this kind of domestic warmth. Before, back at Bai Ningbing's cold, sprawling villa, even though he had every luxury imaginable and she treated him with respect, it never felt like a home. His heart had never truly known what it meant to be at peace. But now I was looking after him every single day. The dynamic between us felt incredibly organic. When he vented to me, it was like talking to his own flesh and blood. He didn't have to filter a single word. He finally felt like he had a family again. He began to understand why his aunt had stopped treating this man like a complete stranger. Bai Ningbing also picked up on the fact that Bai Zi was finally letting his guard down around me. When she asked how things were at home in the evening, Bai Zi often said life was very happy. During dinner that night, I tossed out a suggestion. "I'm free for the next 2 days, and Xiaozi has been cooped up in here forever. Why don't I take him to the amusement park tomorrow?" Bai Ningbing's knife froze mid-cut as she processed the idea. I saw Bai Zi's entire body go rigid with pure. She went silent for a beat, weighing the options. Realizing the kid had been stuck indoors for 5 days straight, she finally spoke. "Fine. I'll clear my schedule and join you tomorrow." My jaw dropped, feeling totally helpless. Truth be told, I wanted some one-on-one time with the kid, but since the Ice Queen invited herself, I couldn't exactly say no. On the flip side, Bai Zi's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. A massive, genuine smile broke across his face as he grinned at me. "But Auntie, if you're swamped, it's totally okay if just Xiaoyu and I go." I had completely blanked on the fact that amusement parks on the weekend are absolute war zones. Lately, seeing Bai Zi being such a good kid but living like a hermit, plus the fact that I was writing a carnival scene in my novel, made me want to give him a real childhood experience. Remembering that he lost both his parents when he was only 6, it made sense that Bai Ningbing would never think to take him to a place so loud and vibrant. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of heartbreak for the little guy. The next morning, Bai Zi was up before the crack of dawn. After rubbing the sleep from his eyes, he peeked out through the curtains. The sun hadn't even started its climb yet. He checked the small alarm clock, sitting on his nightstand. It wasn't even 6. Bai Ningbing is hardwired to wake at 6. Then she rouses the boy. He lay motionless, not daring to stir, petrified of waking her too soon. Bai Zi, living in this cramped space, feels 1,000 times better than before. Back at the villa, he was isolated in a massive, lonely bedroom all by himself. Here, for the first time in his life, he is truly close to Bai Ningbing. He's within arm's reach of her, even if they haven't quite closed the emotional distance yet. Ever since they transitioned to this new lifestyle, it occasionally gives him the fleeting sensation of living with his parents again, and he cherishes that feeling. Upon waking, Bai Zi gave a startled shiver and turned to see Bai Ningbing already sitting upright. She shifted her gaze toward the small boy. Though her expression remained stoic, the lingering morning drowsiness gave her a lazy aura, making her appear far softer than her daytime persona. I'm awake now." The boy scrambled up, snatched his clothes, and began dressing himself. Bai Ningbing made zero effort to assist him. Bai family children are forged to be independent from the cradle. Stepping out of the room, the pair, big and small, instinctively crept on tiptoe. They migrated to the bathroom to wash up. In the reflection of the vanity mirror, the two, one tall, one short, looked like carbon copies with their striking features. Scrub, scrub went the brushes. "Auntie, should we wake Xiaoyu?" "No, let him sleep." Usually, I'm also up by 6. Even though I'm the designated chef, they typically retreat to their rooms to handle their own business. Little Z, Xiaoyu works himself to the bone in that kitchen. Let's give him a break and eat out today. Wait, are you actually admitting that he works incredibly hard for us? Fine. I don't think we've reached the point of starvation yet. Xiaoyu shouldn't have to slave away every single day. That is the reality of the boy's life now. Then, while Bai Zi was lost in deep thought, she unceremoniously grabbed the back of his collar. She hauled him back to the bedroom to study. Just as they vanished inside, I swung my door open and stepped out into the hall. Clack, clack. I walked over and threw the curtains wide, revealing a sky that was absolutely crystal clear. With a satisfied smirk, I let out a massive, bone-popping stretch. The breakfast prep is usually handled the night before, so the actual morning grind was minimal. 30 minutes later, I habitually went to summon the duo for their meal. Once the three of us finished breakfast together, we geared up to head out. But why are we hauling these backpacks? The boy frowned at the small pack strapped to his shoulders. Then he eyed the massive rucksack I was lugging, looking utterly baffled. Did you forget we're broke? Theme park prices are a total scam. It's the same food, so obviously it's smarter to BYO. Don't sweat it, your bag is just full of light snacks. It won't weigh you down. But surely the markups at the amusement park aren't that insane, right? There has to be a limit to how much they can overcharge people. It's just junk food. How much of a premium could they possibly tack on? I tugged the zipper shut on his back and brandished a pack of cookies. I snagged these at the supermarket for a mere 10 yuan. Just you wait and see what kind of highway robbery price they're charging inside. Fine, I'll be the judge of that. The boy grumbled under his breath, but still obediently turned around, allowing me to stuff his pack to the brim with snacks. The trio officially hit the road, with Bai Ningbing taking the wheel. On the way, since I had a captive audience, I started a story for Bai Zi. Obviously, I couldn't test my web novel plots on a third grader. I figured a fairy tale was a safer bet. I went with the classic tale of Cinderella. The narrative itself is pretty brief. I wrapped it up in under 10 minutes. Bai Zi seemed to listen with surprising intensity and delivered his critique with total enthusiasm. Xiao Yu, your Mandarin is actually pretty decent. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wait, were you even paying attention to the plot? I know Cinderella is a total cliché. You've seen it a million times, but as Confucius said, review the old to discover the new. You should have some fresh insights. You're right. But I've dissected this story so many times that there's nothing left to analyze. The girls in my class are all obsessed with the romance between Cinderella and the prince. But under Auntie's mentorship, I've realized that Cinderella, even in her soot-covered state, was still an earl's daughter, making her a high-tier match for the prince. So this is just a tale of social classes aligning. After some forced drama, it's just a standard happy ending. I smirked. Fair enough, genius. Then tell me this. If you were Cinderella trapped in a toxic family like that, what would you do? Would you stay pure and endure the stepmother's abuse forever? Or would you find a way to manipulate your father or launch a counterattack yourself? Relying on the father is a dead end. If he actually gave a damn, Cinderella wouldn't have been a punching bag for that long. Open rebellion isn't smart either if it's too flashy. Disrespecting elders ruins your reputation, and then she'd never secure a high society marriage. Running away wasn't an option either. A girl who absconds would be branded with a scandalous reputation. She'd be unmarriageable, so the only tactical move left was to endure. You're barely out of diapers, yet your logic is terrifyingly sharp. So in your eyes, was Cinderella's fate already sealed? Of course not. It looks like the only path is to suffer in silence. But in reality, there are plenty of cards to play. For instance, the reputation game. If being a bad daughter is a sin, then a stepmother abusing a ward is also a scandal. That woman has 2 daughters of her own. She'd have to weigh if her cruelty would wreck her own children's marriage prospects. Bai Ningbing, focused on the wheel, caught their exchange in the rearview mirror. Hearing Bai Zi's cold analysis, she gave a barely perceptible nod of approval. I was absolutely floored by the strategic mind of this 8-year-old. So you're saying what Bai Zi just dropped is actually solid logic? I scratched my head in disbelief as the car glided into the parking lot. The moment we came to a complete stop, Bai Zi was the first one to vault out of the car. The kid's hype levels were completely off the charts. I scrambled out and firmly snatched his hand. I sternly warned him that this place was always a mosh pit, and today it was looking even more chaotic. You're so adorable, you're basically prime bait for every human trafficker in the city. So you must glue yourself to my hand or your aunt's. Stay within reach at all times. If something feels off, scream for us, got it? Relax, Xiao Yu. Xiao. I'm not a moron. I'll be your shadow. A kid's strength is a joke compared to an adult's. If someone snatches me, resisting is a waste of energy. My teacher drilled that into us, so I won't go rogue. Good. Glad we're on the same page. Having a rational kid definitely puts the mind at ease. The three of us marched toward the main gates together. Since I'd secured the tickets online, we just had to hit the kiosks for the printouts. Compared to the soul-crushing lines at the ticket booths, we were breezing through the entrance. Once inside, the atmosphere was electric and absolutely swarming with people. Both Bai Ningbing and I were the kind of people who, even in a sea of thousands, would naturally command the attention of every guy and girl in the vicinity. Predictably, our entrance turned every head. I could practically feel people working up the nerve to come over and flirt. But the second they saw the child sandwiched between our hands, they froze in their tracks. Look at that top-tier couple with their kid over there. They're an absolute power couple. For a second, I thought some A-list celebrities were out on a secret date. Ugh, what a waste. Both of them are already off the market. Otherwise, I would have shot my shot. I swear, do all the handsome guys only go for goddesses? Does that mean girls who aren't visual peaks like me are doomed? My heart is literally shattering. Are you guys really obsessing over that? Can we just talk about how insanely cute their kid is? And he looks so well-mannered, too. Manifesting a son like that in my future. Girl, wake up. Neither you nor your man are that blessed, and you expect your kid to be a visual god? I had to bite my lip to keep from dying of laughter at their gossip. It's a pity Baizi isn't actually my son. If he were, I'd probably wake up grinning every single morning. Xiaoyu, what's the first target? What are we riding? That's your call, champ. I think the roller coaster and bumper cars are elite choices. You feeling it? I've never actually stepped foot in an amusement park, so my knowledge of the rides is pretty limited. Baizi paused for a beat, weighing his options. He stared at the twisting roller coaster tracks looming in the distance and reached a decision. Fine, let's tackle the roller coaster first. All right, the coaster is our first target. Then we'll dominate the bumper cars. The line for the roller coaster was absolutely massive. It was a sea of parents with their kids and couples patiently waiting their turn. I didn't even wait for Bai Ningbing to reach the entrance. Instead, I took the initiative and jumped into the back of the queue. Waving toward Bai Ningbing, I called out, "I'll hold our spot in line. If you two are feeling drained, go grab a seat and rest for a bit." The energy from the crowd around us shifted the moment I said that. A woman standing nearby was practically radiating envy. She nudged her boyfriend and whispered, "Look at him. So handsome, and yet he's willing to suffer in line." Just so his wife and kid can relax, I'm seriously jealous right now. Wow, so you're saying you have a problem with our dynamic? I'm just saying he's a total catch for waiting, but look at his wife, she's a total goddess. Besides, she's dripping in high-end designer gear from head to toe. Her entire fit has to be worth at least 50,000 easy. If I had that kind of bank, I'd just pay someone to wait for me. That guy must be a pushover or have zero status at home. If I was blessed with looks like his, there's no way I'd settle for a woman I didn't truly love like that. The man accidentally let his toxic inner thoughts slip out loud, earning him a swift, sharp kick to the shin from his girlfriend. "What did you just say? Say that again to my face if you've got the guts." No, baby, I was just capping. It was a joke. You've got a heart of gold. You'd never be that petty. Baizi gave Bai Ningbing's hand a tug. He had caught every single word of their trash talk. He was certain his aunt hadn't missed a syllable of it either. Is it really cool to leave Xiaoyu hanging in line all by himself? Didn't your school teach you that men and women are on equal footing? He's securing this experience for the whole team with one weight, and that includes you. Baizi let out a breath of relief. She wasn't just exploiting Gu Xiaoyu's labor after all. He was right to hate the old Gu Xiaoyu. But his opinion of me has done a complete 180. The old Gu Xiaoyu wouldn't have cared how Bai Ningbing treated him. But with the new and improved version, he feels a pang of guilt whenever things get rough for me. The current Xiaoyu is actually top tier. Meanwhile, those women, some hitched, some hunting, kept spiraling the conversation into a completely different dimension. Baizi couldn't stand their mindless chatter anymore, so he pulled Bai Ningbing toward a nearby bench. Since this wasn't some scheme to make me a permanent line stander, he could finally chill. After all, the real adrenaline was coming up. After an eternity of waiting, it was finally the trio's time to shine. Baizi naturally claimed the middle seat between Bai Ningbing and me. Flanked by both of us, we were finally locked into the coaster. People were still rubbernecking just to catch a glimpse of our visuals, which made Gu Xiaoyu feel super awkward. But looking over, the icy young miss sat there like she was in a boardroom, effortlessly elegant and striking. She looked completely unfazed by the impending drop. As for Baizi, he tuned everyone out, blinking his huge eyes as he excitedly double-checked his harness, making sure to nag Gu Xiaoyu too. "Xiaoyu, make sure your belt is locked in. Don't just nod. Actually check it. Any issues? All good, champ. Don't worry. I then glanced at Bai Ningbing. Miss Bai was the picture of composure, acting as if the world around her didn't even exist. Suddenly, curiosity got the better of me. He didn't believe his aunt didn't hear it too. Is it okay to let Xiao Yu wait in line by himself? Didn't your teacher tell you that men and women are equal? Or can she genuinely maintain that level of icy composure even on a vertical drop? I've got to keep a close eye on her. Having resolved that, the moment the coaster roared to life, I kept one eye locked firmly on Bai Ningbing. Initially, the train crawled, agonizingly scaling the metal peaks. Once we peaked at the summit, my chest tightened. The real chaos was about to erupt. A split second before gravity took over, Bai Ningbing finally deigned to unbind her crossed arms and grip the safety bar. Yet her face remained a mask, staring forward with chilling indifference. The next instant, the world fell away as the car plummeted from the heavens. The velocity intensified by the second. My own guts are actually holding up, not quite hitting the limit yet. Little Baizi, however, was vibrating with pure, unadulterated hype, not even a flicker of terror in his eyes. A chorus of guttural screams exploded all around us, some fueled by adrenaline, others by soul-crushing fear. Only Bai Ningbing, despite the gale-force winds whipping her hair into a chaotic mess, offered nothing more than a slight, elegant knit of her brow. She remained otherwise completely and utterly unresponsive. It was as if she weren't even participating in the high-octane ride. I felt the brutal wind slamming against my face, and my frame rattling uncontrollably right on the verge of losing my cool. Glancing over through the blur of lefts and rights, even while hanging inverted, that woman's zen-like calm never shattered. Deep down, I couldn't help but marvel. Miss Bai is a stone-cold queen. But if you're this chill, what's the point of the adrenaline? The coaster experience was a blur, lasting only a few fleeting minutes. As the car's aggressive momentum finally bled out, the frantic cheering of the crowd began to simmer down. Bai's euphoric grin hadn't faded in the slightest. I found my gaze lingering on Bai Ningbing. Even with her hair a disaster, she radiated an undeniable aura. Xiao Yu, was that a rush? The last time I rode this, I was actually a little shook. This time around, I felt zero fear. I'm basically a legend now. The second little Z hit the pavement, he lunged for Gu Xiaoyu's arm. He was talking a big game, but his legs were like jelly. He nearly ate dirt on his first step. I lunged forward to stabilize him, while I personally didn't trust my own balance enough to move. Sure, our little Z is a total warrior. A coaster at 8? You've already surpassed me. Back in middle school, the roller coaster actually reduced me to tears. The park near my old neighborhood had just installed a new beast. Breaks were rare, but my parents finally had a free slot and took me for a spin. Throughout the whole ordeal, I didn't dare crack an eyelid. After stumbling off, I just collapsed on the asphalt and had a total emotional breakdown. I was just a kid then, and that level of intensity was way beyond my pay grade. It was brutal. Then you really are a scaredy cat. I went at 6 and didn't shed a tear. Don't worry, if you get spooked later, you can just hold my hand. As long as I'm here, nothing can hurt you. All right then, I'll take you up on that, little Zai. This kid is a literal saint. Hearing such heartwarming words from that cute face, my heart is practically a puddle. What's the next mission? Bumper cars, definitely the bumper cars. Since Xiao Yu is so eager to play. Hold up, since when was I the one begging for bumper cars? I was baffled. I never claimed I wanted in. I just threw it out as an option. Well, if you're too chicken, then why even bring it up? Adults are allowed to have fun with bumper cars, too. It wasn't that I was against it. I only pitched the idea because my brain blanked on other options. As for the rest of these rides, I'm a total amusement park rookie. Before I could even clarify, Bai Ningbing had already snatched Bai Zi's other hand and marched forward. Bai Zi took the hint and gave me a sharp tug to keep me moving. These two were clearly convinced I was dying to play and didn't give me a single second to plead my case. Honestly, at this stage, if I tried to seriously explain that I wasn't into bumper cars, would they just think I was acting too cool for it? I debated it for 2 minutes and reached a firm conclusion. Today, whether I'm feeling these bumper cars or not, I'm strapped in. The crowd for the bumper cars was noticeably thinner than the roller coaster mob. Because of that, Bai Ningbing sent Bai Zi ahead to hold our spot in line. The boy stood there in the center of the queue, effortlessly drawing a flurry of sparkling, admiring gazes. Right next to him, a little girl was having an absolute meltdown. Her dad was desperate to calm her down, but she wouldn't budge. However, the second she locked eyes with Bai Zi, the waterworks shut off instantly. The little girl wriggled out of her father's desperate grip and lunged toward Bai Zi's side under the watchful eyes of the entire crowd. Without a shred of shyness, the little girl reached out and grabbed Bai Zi's hand. Blinking her big, innocent eyes, she chirped, "Big brother, let's play together." The girl looked about 5, barely reaching the height of Bai Zi's shoulder. "Be a good girl now, no more crying. We're all here for the bumper cars, right? So of course we're going to be out there on the track together in a bit. There are plenty of cars in the arena, we'll all play." "No, Mommy, I want to play with Big Brother." "I really like Big Brother." "Fine, then Daddy will wait in line for both of you, okay?" I watched as the little girl hovered around Bai Zi, her tiny mouth moving a mile a minute. Bai Zi kept a gentle, reassuring smile on his face throughout the chaos. Occasionally, he'd offer a soft reply or a nod to show he was actually listening. The two kids were vibing perfectly. To have that kind of charisma at such a young age, what kind of heartbreaker will he be when he grows up? The little girl is quite the cutie, don't you think? It's only working because little Z is a gentleman. Didn't you hear her? She was rambling about the most boring stuff, like her doll's giant eyes, or some movie her parents dragged her to. Her logic was all over the place. Only our little Bai has the saint-like patience to actually engage with her. He's basically babysitting out here. Let's be real, boys usually couldn't care less about those topics. True. Not even 2 minutes into his babysitting shift, a slightly chunky boy swaggered over. He tried to wedge himself into Bai Zi and the girl's circle, clearly attempting to join the conversation. The little girl just turned her head in annoyance, totally ghosting him. Her eyes were for Bai Zi only. Bai Zi gave the boy a polite nod, but kept his focus on the girl, with zero intent of letting the boy join their squad. The boy eventually got the hint that these two weren't looking for a third wheel and trudged back to his parents in defeat. Wow, he really is a natural-born chick magnet. When our turn finally came, Bai Zi skillfully guided the girl back to her parents. After that, he dragged me and Bai Ningbing toward the entrance without a single trace of lingering interest. We scrambled into our cars, ready for the main event. But looking at his aggressive driving style, he clearly had no intention of waiting for that girl to join him. The absolute best part of bumper cars is the glorious chaos of slamming into everyone in sight. My real-world driving skills are average at best, but in this arena, fear is a completely foreign concept. After all, these metal beasts were engineered for impact. Isa was having a blast, occasionally T-boning the other players. Naturally, once the crowd noticed Bai Ningbing's goddess-tier visuals, they began intentionally swerving to accidentally collide with her. A few thirsty guys even tried to strike up a conversation mid-drift. But Bai Ningbing handled that car like a professional stunt driver. She dodged every incoming strike with surgical precision, leaving them hitting thin air. Watching her cold efficiency made my blood start to simmer. Later, once she realized she had a literal target on her back, Bai Ningbing shifted gears into full-blown evasive maneuvers. The thirsty mob trying to snag a hit on her car couldn't even graze her bumper if their lives depended on it. Instead, Bai Ningbing counterattacked, sending them scattering like bowling pins. Thoroughly defeated, the mob pivoted their aggression toward me and Bai Zi. In a surprising move, Bai Ningbing intentionally left a gap in her defense, just to lure the attackers away from the kid and me. Finally, the buzzer sounded, signaling the end of our session. The second the staff called time, I docked my car and bolted without looking back. I'm officially retiring from bumper cars for the rest of my life. Bai Zi looked equally fed up. As we exited, he grabbed my arm and started venting. Those people are straight-up menaces. They don't even know who we are. Yet they kept gunning for us like we owed them money. A little bump is fine, but they were being so reckless my brain is rattling. I tried to come to your rescue, but I got sidelined by a rogue driver. A horde of kids just swarmed me from behind. The more I tried to move, the more I got pinned. It was so tilting. Don't be so dramatic. It's mostly because you're too cute, just like that girl earlier. They all just wanted a piece of you. Those kids were definitely fanboying over you, so they bumped you just to get a reaction. So I got targeted because of my visuals? I mean, I am pretty cracked in the looks department. But kid, your driving skills are absolute trash. Your aunt, on the other hand, escaped that encirclement like a pro. And hey, she even looked like she was bailing you out of that pincer attack at the end. Recalling Bai Ningbing's dominant performance on the track, Bai Zi immediately grabbed her hand, his eyes shimmering with pure admiration. Auntie, you're a legend. You have to teach me just now. Everyone was thirsting for a hit, yet you were untouchable. Oh, thanks. Bai Ningbing merely gave me a cool, indifferent nod in response. I turned back to Bai Zi and kept it 100. Face it, you're still a squirt. Since you're short, you can barely reach the petals properly. So don't overthink it. Just focus on eating your veggies and hitting a growth spurt. In life, there are some things you just can't brute force. Like your height. Baizi's ego immediately deflated like a popped balloon. He isn't even short for his grade, but he's still just a kid at the end of the day. Why are you comparing yourself to a literal adult? You're doing fine. When you hit your peak, you'll probably be even more of a boss than your aunt. No stress. But maybe chug an extra glass of milk before hitting the hay. Consider me your personal milk supplier from now on. We're gonna make sure you tower over everyone. Heck yeah! Even if I can't catch up to the adults yet, I'm gonna be a giant among my peers. All right, what's the next move? I'm low-key kicking myself for not checking a guide before we got here. While I was spiraling, a kid zoomed past, yanking his parent's arm and jumping like crazy. The pirate ship! I want to ride the pirate ship! I immediately pivoted to Baizi. You down for the pirate ship? Absolutely, I'm trying to hit every single ride in this place. I whipped out the map to scout the location. Turns out the pirate ship was looming right ahead, just a short trek away. Let's get it then. We marched toward the pirate ship. Just as the previous riders disembarked, it was the next wave's turn. The timing was clutch, though we still had to follow the cue. Once we boarded, they claimed seats at the very edge. This thing is definitely going to swing like a pendulum of doom later. Baizi was still vibrating with pure, unadulterated hype. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing remained as stoic and untouchable as ever. Deep down, I was actually a little petrified. I've never tangled with a ride like this before. Back in the day, whenever I watched those C-dramas, the main character would usually stumble off this thing and barf until they were seeing stars. Even if I'm just a side character, motion sickness doesn't care about your screen time. Xiaoyu, why are you crushing my hand? It actually kind of hurts. My bad, I'm just a little too pumped up. I was too mortified to admit I was a nervous wreck, so I just played the overly excited card. I let go and noticed Baizi's hand was already flushed a bright red. A massive wave of guilt immediately washed over me. You okay, champ? Does it sting? I'm fine, but maybe dial back the excitement just a notch. Switch places with him. Bai Ningbing suddenly interjected with that command. Both of us were caught completely off guard. Why? To keep the weight distribution from going haywire. Baizi and I shared a confused look. They were perched at the far end. On either side were nothing but adults, while the kids were clustered in the center. At first glance, the balance on their side really did look wonky compared to the right. Whatever, Baizi hopped up and we did the old switcheroo. This time, I was the meat in the sandwich, with Baizi and Bai Ningbing flanking me on either side. I had barely clicked my seatbelt into place when my left hand was seized by Bai Ningbing, and Baizi on the right wasted no time in grabbing my other hand. Two people, one big and one small, each anchoring me. It felt like I was being shielded by them, which was actually pretty moving. The pirate ship began to arc with increasing violence. Screams erupted in rhythmic waves from the crowd. Luckily, it was much smoother than I feared. Plenty of thrills, but not nearly as terrifying as the rumors. Looks like I'm going to keep my lunch after all. They keep calling me cannon fodder, so why would I get the dramatic MC vomit scene? My frail body act is strictly for show. The pirate ship swung for another minute before the momentum finally began to die down. I felt Bai Ningbing's iron grip on my hand gradually soften. Once the ship finally groaned to a halt, both of them released me. Xiaoyu, you're actually a beast! No barfing, no sobbing. You're way tougher than I gave you credit for. I was only a little jittery at the start, not actually shook. I couldn't admit that, so I just bluffed. Well, I am the adult here. You were pretty impressive yourself. That was legendary. Even grown-ups can be total cowards, like that person over there, Baizi noted, while gesturing toward a woman clutching a plastic bag, losing her soul into a trash can. Check it out, she's literally puking her guts out. I followed his finger to survey the damage. That woman was actually quite a stunner, too. Even while losing her lunch, she maintained a level of poise. More impressively, her cold aura didn't flicker for a second. The nearby staff scrambled over to check on her condition. The woman tilted her head slightly, and I caught a glimpse of her profile, feeling like that beauty looked strangely familiar. But no matter how much I racked my brain, I couldn't place where I'd encountered her before. Stop pointing at strangers so carelessly. You shouldn't pass judgment on people you know nothing about. Bai Ningbing firmly pressed Baizi's hand down. With a sharp edge of a lecture in her tone, Baizi instantly retracted his hand and obediently nodded in submission. Ignore the others, let's move. It's been over 2 hours. Are you guys hitting a wall with hunger or thirst? I unzipped Bidesy's small pack and held it out to him, gesturing for him to scout the bag for whatever snack he was craving. Then I shucked off my own backpack, rummaged through it, and pulled out a bottle of kids' milk to hand over. Thanks, Xiaoyu. You and Auntie should grab a bite too. Munching on snacks in front of the Ice Queen, and even suggesting she join in? The difficulty level of this challenge was insane, so I hesitated. Bai Ningbing reached out and took both backpacks, right out of my hands. I was a bit stunned that she didn't just state what she wanted to eat, figuring that since we're out on the town, we might as well indulge while the getting's good. I fished out some cookies and a bag of potato chips. I also cracked open a cold bottle of Coca-Cola. I was seriously vibing for some junk food. I couldn't stop myself. Bai Ningbing stared at the treasures in my hands but remained silent. Just as Baidzi was about to open his mouth to beg, a single lethal glare from her successfully caused Baidzi's "I want a Coke too" request to die a silent, premature death in his throat. While I was snacking, I noticed Bai Ningbing still hadn't touched a single thing. In the end, her high society reserve was unbreakable. Want a bite? Honestly, snacks aren't the devil, and the additives are totally within safe limits for human consumption. Besides, you're not a regular, so a little won't kill you. It's not that deep. You won't catch a disease from a chip. Here. Bai Ningbing didn't shoot me down directly, but her rejection was written all over her face, so I just finished my portion. But I took one more shot. How about some water then? I've got mineral water right here. Next time, procure that specific premium brand of bottled water instead. That will suffice. I let out a silent, exasperated sigh. This rich lady is technically broke, yet even her water has to be a designer label. I seriously don't get the hype. Is water that costs a fortune really that much better than the 2 yuan stuff? Isn't H2O just H2O at the end of the day? After we rested for a bit, Baidzi decided he wanted to catch a flick. The three of us marched toward the theater showing the latest animated features. On the way, Baidzi continued to ramble with endless energy. Last time I was here, we promised to see a movie, but my parents were in such a rush they dragged me away. I've been dying to see a cartoon here. Is there actually a difference compared to a regular theater? Today I finally get to find out for myself. My classmates swear the movies here hit different. I was genuinely curious myself. How different could it actually be? It's probably just a placebo effect. This kid is headed for a massive disappointment. I shook my head inwardly at his high expectations. The downside of a kid being a genius is that nothing in this world is a surprise, because everything is already calculated within their expectations. Sure enough, when we first stepped inside, Baidzi was glowing with happiness. But after 10 minutes of watching, he completely lost all interest. He yanked on both me and Bai Ningbing, signaling that he was ready to bail. The moment we stepped outside, he started a non-stop roast session. That movie was barely a step above the basic trash I watch at home. I hyped myself up for a total scam. My classmate 100% trolled me into wasting my afternoon here. So toxic. I'm definitely settling the score when I get back to school. You're being too harsh. Maybe those other kids genuinely thought it was fire. Everyone's got their own vibe. I was low-key terrified he'd confront the kid only to hear, "Watching with family is a core memory," which would just twist the knife. Oh, fair point. If they have zero taste, that's on them. Imagine actually thinking the garbage was peak cinema. His elitist rant was cut short by a sharp flick to the forehead from Bai Ningbing. Watch your mouth. Trash-talking people behind their backs is incredibly low class. He rubbed his neck where she'd tagged him, and that look of pure arrogance vanished instantly. In a blink, he did a 180 back into that precious, innocent boy. Well, except for that sharp, calculating glint in his eyes when he looked at strangers. What's going on in that head of yours? Oh, I just think if someone thinks a movie that mid is good, they must have a really tragic life. I was stunned. In under 3 seconds, and with just a single reality check from Bai Ningbing, this kid has already mastered the art of high-level shade. Is this the birth of a villain? I stared at Bai Ningbing, completely bewildered. She didn't seem to find anything wrong with his logic. She even ruffled his hair with a proud look. Wait, raising a child like this? Are we sure this is safe? This kid clearly understands that by saying this, he makes his classmate look pathetic without even giving him a chance to clap back. He's a total menace. Don't trip, Xiaoyu. I'm a total saint who cherishes my homies. I could only manage a strained smile. We had finally cleared all the major rides. Checking my watch, I realized it was already well past 11. It's almost noon. Should we go hunt for some actual food? I'm not exactly starving, but it's lunchtime. We can't just live off processed snacks forever. I want McDonald's. Let's go. I'd expect that from a normal kid, but you used to feast on 5-star gourmet meals. Why are you craving fast food? It actually hurts my ego considering how hard I slave away in the kitchen every day. This kid is literally begging for a Big Mac, Miss Bai. Is she going to think that when she's at the office, I'm just serving up half-baked meals to her nephew? I just want to experience the vibe. The atmosphere there is a whole different world, even if I eat elite food every day. A man needs to switch up his palate once in a while, right? Auntie, please, just this once. I won't die from eating junk food once in a blue moon. Besides, can't I just have a little freedom today? Bai Ningbing just stood there looking like an ice sculpture. I realized then that Bai Zi is actually incredibly persistent when he wants something. If it were me, I definitely couldn't commit to the whole puppy dog eyes and arm-tugging routine like that. Surprisingly, Bai Ningbing caved and agreed to take him, for ramen instead. She even checked in to see if I was down for that or if I wanted to fly solo. I'm easy. Besides, it's been a hot minute since I've had a proper cheat meal. I had 0 complaints. To be honest, now that he mentioned it, I was low-key craving some fries too. Might as well indulge my own inner child along with Bai Zi today. Speaking of which, I almost let our little bet from earlier slip my mind. Xiaozi, didn't you want to verify the prices of those snacks? Oh, right. He remembered that was the mission we set out on this morning. He immediately released our hands like they were on fire. He sprinted toward a nearby souvenir shop. I scrambled to keep up. This place is a mosh pit, and losing him would be a nightmare. By the time Bai Zi emerged from the store, his face was a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. A bottle of water costs double here? My God, that's literally criminal. It's not criminal, it's just capitalism. Tourist traps are always a scam. For instance, a grilled corn that's usually 4 yuan. But at tourist traps, they'll gouge you for 10 yuan easily. Why? It's a one-and-done business model. They know tourists won't be back for a second round, and the people buying are usually desperate and unprepared. Once hunger strikes, the price tag becomes irrelevant. It's not like they're broke, so they just pay the premium and eat. Then you have the overhead. Oh, that makes sense. There's also the cost factor your aunt mentioned. A single ear of corn is dirt cheap, and grilling it is pennies, but smuggling inventory inside means paying a massive cut to the site management. That tax gets passed straight to the tourists, which is why the markup is so insane. So the real mastermind raking in the cash must be the owner of the attraction. Think about it. He just builds the place, hires a few suits to manage the chaos, and collects a fortune. Add the entry fees on top. And he's basically printing money. Classic Bai family bloodline. Growing up in that cutthroat business environment gave him a reaction speed that commands respect. I remember being Bai Zi's age. I was probably still eating dirt or playing tag. Then you have to navigate the bureaucracy for land grants and secure the capital to actually build the site. Plus, the logistics of hiring elite staff and handling constant maintenance. Every single detail requires a master plan. It's a labyrinth of complications. But don't stress, you're just a kid. You'll grasp the grind when you're older. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's never that easy. I scoffed internally. The eldest miss was definitely sugarcoating the reality. Even Bai Zi could sense that things weren't as simple as they sounded. When you actually step into the arena to do the work, there's no telling how many headaches you'll run into. Even a powerhouse like the eldest miss faced a total collapse. Does she not know the rules of the game? Clearly, mastering the theory doesn't mean you won't get wrecked in practice. There are simply too many chaotic variables at play. Half the time, success isn't even a result of human choice. It's usually down to invisible forces, like the main character's divine luck or plot armor. After we returned home, the rhythm of life stabilized. My routine is military grade. Wake up like clockwork, cook, scrub the place top to bottom, and then dive into my writing. After the lunch rush, I clean up and recharge with a power nap. I spend the afternoon deep diving into tea culture research to build a solid foundation for future high-end painting commissions. The evening follows the same grind, post-dinner research marathons. Occasionally, I'll zone out on other sites, maybe decompress with a movie. Beyond that, I carve out specific blocks for the laundry cycle, deep cleaning the house and keeping the pantry stocked. Naturally, I keep my fitness in check to maintain a peak physique. If Bai Zi needs a distraction, I'll occasionally drag the little man out for an adventure, whether it's hitting up museums, scouring libraries, or just finding elite spots to kill time. Bai Ningbing was a ghost, buried in work almost every single day. I honestly have no clue what her hustle even looks like. She only resurfaces during the breakfast and dinner windows. At night, she audits Bai Zi's daily activities. As for me being his designated chaperone, She remained silent, which I took as a sign that she's accepted this new normal. But while this peaceful facade is nice, a mountain of unresolved issues is still looming over us. That morning over breakfast, I brought up the housing situation again. Baizi shot a meaningful glance at Bai Ningbing. Sleeping arrangements have been a total nightmare for him. Because he's sharing a bed with the Ice Queen, he's too terrified to even flinch. He's dying for a room of his own, a private sanctuary where he can toss and turn without fear. The scouting is done. We move in next week. If you're looking to invest, a high-tier development goes on sale the week after. Check it out then. Bai Ningbing dropped the intel, and finally, the weight lifted off my chest. It's enough to know the boss didn't forget my priorities. By next week, Bai Ningbing gave me the order to mobilize. We were finally packing up to move into a new rental. Auntie, am I finally getting my own sanctuary? I'm praying there's room for a massive bookshelf. The bed doesn't have to be king-sized, just enough to crash in. While waiting for the movers, Baizi was vibrating with excitement. I knew Auntie was the GOAT. Xiao Yu, we're finally leveling up to a bigger house. Aren't you hyped? Xiao Yu, Baizi, and Bai Ningbing officially touched down at their new rental property. The trio immediately began the deep clean. Of course, I'm stoked. Why wouldn't I be? In reality, I was pretty neutral. It wasn't my deed, so my physical coordinates didn't really change the state of my soul. Growing up as an only child, I was used to a standard two-bedroom setup. My parents always showered me with a subtle, low-key kind of love. I never harbored a desperate hunger for some sprawling, hollow mansion. Human beings, if they've never been starved of affection or tasted the bitter sting of rock bottom, usually lack that savage, cutthroat drive for material excess. I'm the classic modest on the outside, rich on the inside type. Honestly, I find smaller pads way more cozy and low maintenance. However, while cozy is fine, we had to face the cold, hard facts. We couldn't have Baizi bunking with the Ice Queen for the rest of his life, right? I'm beyond hyped. I'm going to hustle and stack cash just to buy a literal mountain of books. This current place didn't even have a legit study. I've been suffocating for so long. This was little Baizi's ultimate dream. The old place was way too cramped to hold his ambitions. Plus, it was a rental. Nothing like the palatial villa they used to own, where he had a dedicated command center for his studies. When he had downtime, he was forced to endure those brain-rotting cartoons. Absolute boredom personified. I saw you glued to the TV every day. Turns out you're actually a secret bookworm? I only watched that trash because I was literally out of options. I loathe those mid-tier cartoons, but the other kids are obsessed. Auntie told me that a person can be a genius, but when your power level isn't high enough, you must never alienate yourself from the common masses. Otherwise, when the world turns on you, you'll be stranded. Good Lord, a boss is truly a boss. Baizi is still just a sprout. Yet the Ice Queen has already hard-coded these ruthless life lessons into his brain. What could a mere mortal like me even add to that? Auntie also taught me that I should act as if everything was always predestined to be exactly this way. Earlier, I shouldn't have looked down on others or implied they were NPCs just because I'm a genius. Even if I know I'm superior, I should suppress it and hypnotize myself into believing everyone is elite. If I had been sipping tea at that exact moment, I would have done a legendary spit take. Lord, they're teaching this to an elementary schooler? Why do I feel like I was a complete smooth brain at his age? I didn't even begin to grasp this level of social engineering until high school. Read. Bai Ningbing reached into a taped-up box with effortless grace, flicked out a volume, and tossed it to Baizi. Baizi caught it with perfect obedience. Without even glancing at the cover, he dived into the pages. Xiao Yu managed to snag a look at the title. Thick Black Theory? Well, that explains a lot. The spawn of a CEO can only evolve into a CEO. A background character like me should probably just keep my mouth shut. The moving truck pulled up in record time, though we weren't exactly hauling a mountain of gear. It was only when we started the actual heavy lifting that the reality hit me. The vast majority of this haul turned out to be the gear I'd personally hoarded. Most of it was just mundane daily essentials. Eventually, even Baizi reached his limit. He gave Bai Ningbing the signal to finally knock some sense into me. Only then did I abandon the hoard of basics like oil, salt, and various condiments. The silver lining in this chaotic move is that the mountain of clothes once devouring my entire bedroom has been more than half liquidated. Relocating was a breeze. Our new sanctuary is tucked away in a completely different residential zone. It's actually a stone's throw away from our previous neighborhood. But the security and the overall vibe are leagues beyond where we were before. Stepping into the new unit, I noticed the layout is actually incredibly slick. As a former professional designer, I took a quick lap and had to admit that the place Bai Ningbing scouted this time is top tier. The interior follows a minimalist aesthetic, my absolute favorite style, black, white, and gray. The timeless holy trinity that looks fire no matter the angle. Even the furniture was part of a matching set. But what really hyped me up was a swing on the balcony, finally granting my wish for a cozy reading nook. Man, this place is a massive upgrade over the last dump. I'm obsessed! Me too! Bai Ningbing strode in with her long, elegant legs, casually signaling the movers as she navigated the space, dropped the heavy furniture exactly where it belonged. Catching sight of the two of us looking so genuinely satisfied, a fleeting spark of warmth crossed her eyes before she snapped back into boss mode to direct the crew. Roughly an hour later, the movers finished the heavy lifting and cleared out. I fished out the cleaning rags I'd prepped earlier from one of the bundles. Waving them at Baizi, I grinned, "All right, kid, time to put in some sweat equity for our new home. You handle the tabletops and the sweeping. The heavy-duty stuff is on me." On it! Scrubbing the glass and mopping the floors were officially my domain. What's my role? That question caught the two of us completely off guard. Auntie, you actually want to grind? There's no need for that. Shall you and I have this under control? We've got it. Letting his aunt do manual labor? The kid couldn't even process the thought, nor had he ever witnessed it. The mere idea felt like a glitch in the Matrix. Exactly, we can knock this out in no time. You should go focus on your own business. In all my time here, I've never seen the big boss Bai handle a chore. I have to admit, seeing a CEO-level powerhouse doing heavy lifting would trigger some serious guilt. I'll take the windows. You two handle the rest. She glanced at the massive floor-to-ceiling balcony glass, decisively claiming her own task. Without waiting for a rebuttal, she snatched a rag right out of my hand. I felt my finger accidentally graze against hers during the handoff. I instinctively recoiled as if I'd been zapped. What's the issue? Are you cold? No, definitely not. I've probably just been slacking on my hydration, so I'm feeling a bit out of it. It's nothing, I'll just chug some water over the next couple of days. It definitely wasn't because the Ice Queen touched me. She's not made of glass. It's not like she's radioactive. Try eating fewer snacks, then. That verbal dagger pierced my soul with surgical precision, causing my expression to instantly sour. Bai Zi caught the exchange, and while Bai Ningbing had her back turned, he beat a hasty retreat toward my new bedroom. If he didn't bolt, his aunt might just launch a lethal verbal dagger his way. She even dragged the snack topic back into the light. What I couldn't wrap my head around was how Bai Ningbing could just pivot and give me the absolute cold shoulder. Replace the trash liners every single day. This house doesn't even generate that much waste. Xiao Yu smacked his own hand in frustration. How could I let a detail like that slip? But Boss Bai is out grinding from sunrise to sunset. If she's that swamped, why is she always lurking in the bedroom? How does she find time to audit the living room bin? From now on, it's fewer snacks and more hydration. Time to get this bread. Baizi was busy polishing the nightstand, completely oblivious to the fact that Xiao Yu had already decided to axe his snack budget thanks to his aunt's cold-blooded interrogation. If he knew, he probably wouldn't have pulled a vanishing act so fast. After an hour of frantic labor, the new sanctuary was finally spotless. That included the time Xiao Yu spent performatively sweeping the floor while secretly observing Bai Ningbing's silhouette. He'd never admit he was plotting to cast a character exactly like her as the lead in his next novel. Who told her to keep pocket-watching his snacking habits? Besides, the market is severely lacking in truly hardcore novels. Using a real-life Ice Queen CEO like Bai Ningbing as the protagonist would be an instant banger. Actually, forget the bankruptcy arc. Writing her in her peak, pre-ruin glory is the real moneymaker. Xiao Yu, why is the way you're looking at my aunt today so sus? Actually, I get it. It's fine. Auntie definitely won't mind the attention. After all, you two are technically husband and wife. No need to be so bashful about it. It's only natural to be thirsty for Auntie. It'd be weird if you weren't. Aren't couples supposed to be all lovey-dovey? So precious. I barely managed to suppress a laugh. Bai Ningbing gripped her rag, heading to the bathroom for a rinse. She happened to catch the tail end of their couple goals conversation and wore a look of deep, calculating thought. I quickly followed the echo of footsteps into the room. The two inside went radio silent immediately, acting as if they hadn't just been gossiping. Scrubbing the place wasn't the soul-crushing ordeal I expected. I still committed to making a home-cooked meal. There's a massive supermarket nearby, way bigger than the old one. The grocery runs are going to be elite, Now I need to go scout the aisles and stock up on some fresh greens and fruit. For once, Baizi was a good little soldier and didn't beg to tag along. Unexpectedly, Bai Ningbing decided to intercept me. There's no need to follow, seriously, I can haul the bags back solo. It's just a scouting mission today, so I won't go overboard. Just the essentials for tonight. I'll be back in a flash. You two just grind it hard. Go take a breather. If I don't go, how are you planning to transport that mountain of snacks? Can we please just let this snack obsession die? But the truth was, I really did want to grab some treats. Unable to win a debate with the boss, I let her tag along. In the end, I spite-bought a ridiculous amount of junk. The two of us looked like pack mules carrying back 3 massive bags. Watching the CEO haul groceries, she looked more than a little triggered. But hey, who told her to keep nagging me like a mother-in-law? That first night, the 3 of us slept like absolute royalty. Bai Ningbing didn't say a word about the arrangement, but having Baizi snoring next to me was honestly a bit of a vibe killer. I've been a solo sleeper in my own room since I was a toddler, simply not accustomed to sharing my sanctuary with others. Even though Baizi is an angel who never touches my gear, having another soul in my space kept me on edge. I was a whirlwind of activity all day and felt fine, but my body was spent. After a shower, I collapsed onto the mattress. The moment my eyelids grew heavy, I was dead to the world. I slept like a log until sunrise. As for Baizi, it was a dream come true. He finally had a kingdom of his own. He could thrash and turn to his heart's content. He was pure sunshine for the next 48 hours. All 3 of us were vibing with how legendary this house swap turned out to be. That morning, Bai Ningbing summoned me to go scout another property. This was the big one, the permanent residence she'd teased before. We're actually pulling the trigger on a purchase, right? I've been manifesting this moment for ages. Finally, I'll have a true home base in this chaotic world. I have to admit, Bai Ningbing treats me surprisingly well, and Baizi is an absolute gem. Even without a formal label on things, Xiao Yu has started seeing them as his true squad. But that gnawing feeling of being an interloper still lingers. Bai Ningbing is just the ex-husband's cannon fodder, and Baizi is merely her ward. Everything I'm currently enjoying feels borrowed, like it has nothing to do with the real me. I'm just a ghost in the machine, but owning a house, that changes the entire game. With a deed in my hand, I'll finally have a place to anchor my soul in this reality. Even if my path eventually diverges from Bai Ningbing and the rest, I'll still have a fortress to retreat to. By then, I can fully commit to the freelance hustle. This will be the literal foundation where I build my empire. Of course, even if this deal fell through, my current royalty checks are fat enough to keep me in a decent rental. It just wouldn't offer that same untouchable peace of mind. The estate Bai Ningbing led me to was quite a trek from our current rental. Real estate prices in this city are absolutely mooning right now. The place was swarming with hungry buyers. When we pulled up, a massive crowd had already bottlenecked at the entrance. Thankfully, Bai Ningbing didn't expect me to battle through the suffocating mob at the front gates. Instead, she marched me straight through the exclusive staff entrance. She's a former titan of industry, after all. When she makes a move, even without pulling strings, most people are still going to bow down out of sheer respect for her name. The staff didn't just show her respect. They treated her like royalty returning to her throne. Following in her wake, I got my first taste of that elite VIP lifestyle. And experiencing that in such a high-stakes real estate office was wild. We were ushered directly into a private lounge dripping with luxury decor. The tea the attendant served us was some top-shelf blend that radiated the scent of pure wealth. Even a tea rookie like me could tell this stuff cost a small fortune per gram. We're just here to browse, no need for the red carpet. Do you have an inside track with the owner? This is a project my 4th brother built back in the day just to silence the family critics. He's pivoting away from real estate after this. Just pick a unit you vibe with. We'll pay the market rate. Even if it is his development, getting the VIP treatment like this feels like we're finessing him. It feels a little shady, don't you think? If it were Boss Bai's personal mansion, that would be one thing. But this property is going to be registered strictly under my name. Abusing her connections for my benefit felt a bit off-brand for me. Besides, she clearly wasn't exactly thrilled the last time I dragged her house hunting. Fang Yi sized me up with a frigid, calculating gaze. He made it clear that if cash was required, we'd just pay up. This is strictly about you choosing a single unit. At the end of the day, it's just business. So don't overthink the optics. These specific 3 towers boast the most elite layouts and prime positioning. Ignore the bottom 6 floors and the top 6 levels. As for the remaining units, just claim whichever one catches your eye. Fair enough. I'm done playing the humble card. If the boss says pick a winner, I'm picking one. I figured I could always pivot and buy another place later, so I began dissecting the blueprints. Don't sleep on me. I might be an interior designer, but I'm well versed in the dark arts of architectural design, too. These 3 buildings are actually absolute masterclasses. After a rigorous vetting process, I settled on a spacious 3-bedroom dual living room sanctuary. If the renovations wrap up while our marriage is still intact, the 3 of us can bunk here. And if the divorce papers eventually hit the table and I keep the deed, I'll have a bedroom, a high-tech office, and a dedicated gaming den. It's flawless. Now that the layout is locked, we need to inspect the site. Bai Ningbing marched ahead, leading me and the staff, straight to the construction zone. Scanning the perimeter, it was clearly still a work in progress. The corridors were a chaotic mess of raw materials. Typically, units are hawked as pre-sales before the first brick is laid. Why is Mr. Sun building the whole thing before selling? It's because I previously advised him that if the quality is undeniable, buyers will fight over it regardless of timing. Furthermore, property values are on a one-way trip to the moon. The longer he waits, the fatter the profit. So that's the play. As expected of a former titan of the construction industry, Boss Bai operates on a level I can't touch. Like a true isekai genius, she saw the future coming a mile away.